We are joined by Mr. Ross Hill, and we're going to have our trip down memory lane of Vienna High School 50 years ago, or 51, 52, 53 in your case.
That's true.
And when you graduated, I'm sure you can't believe that 53 years later, you'd still be here doing stuff with the Vienna High School. That's not what you probably thought when you first graduated, was it?
No, probably not. I just hoped to be kicking when 53 years later, so I'm lucky that way.
Well, we're talking with Ross Hill, who was a 1973 graduate, and his biography is like this for Vienna High School. 4 years of basketball, 4 years of baseball. He was the junior class president, student council for 1 year, pep club for 4 years, FTA for 1 year, ecology club for 1 year, Illinois State Scholar, who's who among American high school students. He was on the Vi-High opinion staff for 2 years and co-editor for 1, the Ileana staff for 2 years, homecoming escort, most valuable athlete, most valuable baseball and basketball player. His senior year, he had 280 points, 69% from the free throw line, and he is one of the members of the only defeated regular season that went 24-0 his senior year, and we were ranked as high as number 5 in the state AP. That was the last poll of the year. Ottawa Marquette was number 1 with 297 votes. Lawrenceville number 2 with 278. Effingham St. Anthony was 3 with 253. Chicago Lovejoy was number 4 with 215, and Vienna was the 5th ranked team with 199 votes. And Ross, to start it off here, I wanted to touch base with you about what are your thoughts about your senior year, and what do you remember this basketball team in 1973? And I want to say hi to Gary Jackson. He's in Boston, Massachusetts. He was the 5th member, the starting member of that basketball team. And I know he can't be here tonight, but I know he's listening. So I want to say hi to him. The others, you and Bobby Trover, Mark Bean, and Kenneth George were the 5 starters predominantly on that basketball team that year, with Jim Wilson as the head coach.
Right. Yeah, it was just a great group of guys. We all got along really well. Gary was a tremendous player. He could shoot with either hand.
He was the enforcer too.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, he could jump out of the gym, and probably Kenneth was probably more the enforcer. He
really?
He was pretty tough inside. Yeah, sharp elbows, and he could clear a rebound pretty good. So and then Mark was kind of a finesse guy that year. He was just smooth, could shoot from anywhere, and handle the ball. And
in today's world, he would be considered the 3.
Right. And he just tremendous player. We had a really good press. We made life miserable for a lot of teams, and but really the camaraderie. I mean, we would play just all the time. You didn't really have the team camps back then where like today's kids go and play. We just kind of played on our own, but everybody was, in the same boat. They all played all the time, so we might play here in the afternoon and then get in our cars and go to Carrier Mills and play. They had some outside courts, and we'd play up there for an hour or two, and then maybe go to Harrisburg and play in Davenport gym. Some they'd have open gyms, and we'd play up there, and then we might, after dark, go up to El Dorado and play on the outside courts out there, because they had lighted courts, and and there was tremendous players, and those are the Duff Boy and Kingston at El Dorado, and the Sumners and the people at Carrier Mills that were so good.
They always had Roundtrees. They had enough Roundtrees to start.
Roundtrees were at Joppa.
Well, they had a bunch down there.
Yeah.
And boxes were down in Cairo.
Yeah. But everybody played, and we just, you just went pick up games everywhere, and then once the season started with Coach Wilson. Coach Wilson was just Mr. Organization. He had every minute of every practice, written down, and he'd follow his notes, and he was just very thorough. He had us prepared to play.
I know we had all those stations you had to go through at the beginning of each practice, and at the beginning I thought, man, this is dumb, but everything had a purpose, and everything was dealing with coordination and handling the basketball and getting stronger.
Right.
Even though we didn't have an official weight room way back in those days.
No, just the universal, but we didn't use it that much. So
they had some free weights down in the broiler room, which is where David Hill's office is today. That's one of the questions I wanted to ask you was some of the big changes that you saw, that you experienced, that we had back in your case, 53 years ago, how this school has changed. Even though it's the same location, it's a much different school today than it was 50 years ago.
Well, yeah, the technology is,
Well, I'm not talking about the technology. You had the old school. We had the breezeway coming between the girls' gym and the new gym.
Right. Yeah, wintertime was kind of interesting going from one building to the other, or if it was raining, you'd get a little wet. But
the cafeteria was down in the dungeon.
Right.
And downstairs where the weight room is today.
Right. Yeah. I actually got to go to school in the old building that's been torn down, that had a big study hall upstairs.
What's your fondest memories of study hall?
Well, probably one day Mr. Chester got very upset with the way people were doing too much talking, and he picked up a desk and he put it over his head and hit the floor about 3 times, and that got everybody's attention, and things kind of settled down after that. So.
It was hot in there in the early in the year and in May, because they didn't have air conditioning in that building.
No air conditioning anywhere. I don't even think they had window units back then.
They just opened up those big windows, and they had those 2 big box fans, and people would throw coins up there.
Right, and paper wads, and a little bit of everything went up there. What
was your favorite class in school?
Oh, probably PE, but I like dodgeball and stuff like that. But somehow I was the only freshman in a junior and senior PE class, and so it was actually Roger Campbell was the basketball coach then, and he was the PE teacher. He loved to play dodgeball, and so I probably developed all my moves because I had to dodge all the juniors and seniors saying get the freshmen in dodgeball. So that it worked out well for me.
Who was your favorite teacher?
Well, I liked a lot of them. I had some tremendous teachers. One that stood out to me was Ewing Lawrence. Mr. Lawrence was he could be tough as nails, but I just got along well with him, and I liked history. I've always liked history, so I'd say probably Mr. Lawrence, and Jane Monroe was a good English teacher that I enjoyed her class. So I don't know. I liked them all, though.
How about, what is your fondest memory of Vienna?
thinking basketball is probably the night we beat Metropolis here, my senior year. We were undefeated, and they brought in a huge sheet, a bunch of sheets tied together, and they put up in our gym on the sheets they wrote, "It's such a disgrace to win 15 in a row and then lose." And
little motivation,
motivation, and we beat them. And actually, at the end of the third quarter, they had a guy hit a last-second shot from the other free throw line, so he hit about a 60-foot shot, and that put him ahead, I think, by a point, or tied it, something like that. And, of course, our crowd went nuts. The gym was full. We had several games that year that they actually had to shut the doors and not, turn people away. And, in fact, that night my mom was trying to get in, and she got here late, and the doors were locked, and she couldn't get in. But actually, Mr. Kincaid was coming from his office, and he saw her, and he let her come in with him. So she got sick. But we beat them, and then our cheerleaders, which we had tremendous cheerleaders, as soon as the game ended and we'd won, they went up and ripped down the sheets. And so we almost had a riot after the game because of that. So
those were fun times.
They were fun times, yeah, it really was.
What is the funniest thing you remember in your 4 years here?
Well, it was probably two of my cohorts that you'll hear from here in a little bit, Mr. George and Mr. Trover. My senior year, they had this practice of kind of coming in late for school sometimes. And so,
because then all you had to do was be here half a day and you could still play.
That's true, yes. And so we kind of pushed that a little bit. And one day we're coming and it's snowing like crazy. Of course, in those days they didn't call off school hardly at all. And we got to Bloomfield, and Trover and George said, let's not go in first hour. We need to do something else. I said, no, I've got a test. I've got to be there. I was driving. And so they said, well, just let us out. There used to be a store up in Bloomfield, and said, just let us out here and we'll come into school later. And I said, well, if that's what you want to do, okay. And so I let them out, and they go in the store. I come on to school. And later in the morning, I had Mr. Lawrence, and he comes and stands in front of my desk, and he had this habit of slapping his hands. And he's slapping his hands, and I'm thinking, what in the world is going on here? And Mr. Lawrence looked at me, and he said, Mr. Hill, I am so disappointed in you. He said, how could you let those boys miss their ride this morning and have to walk to school in the snow? I didn't really think it was funny at the time, but, now I think it's hilarious. So.
Now, when you graduated high school, you were a 4-year baseball player and a 4-year basketball player. Which, and I think I know the answer to this question, but which sport did you like better?
Whatever was in season.
I figured you would say baseball because you were a heck of a baseball player.
Well, thank you. I really did love baseball, and I probably, I got to play against a lot of Division I schools. Went to Greenville College, and we played SIU, and we played Georgia Tech and Eastern Illinois and Illinois. Different, we got to play a major college schedule, and so that was really a lot of fun for me.
Now, when you went to Greenville, and this kind of surprised me, because you were you started as a starting pitcher here at Vienna. You also hit hit very well. Had a what position did you play? Did you like to play too, besides pitching?
Well, here I played shortstop, and actually when I was younger, I played third base. Started out third base for Coach Campbell, and kind of wherever they wanted to put me, I enjoyed it.
Well, what came about, because you wound up being for many years until just the last year or two, somebody finally broke your record for saves at Greenville. What brought you into being the relief pitcher up there instead of a starter? And I know you were a submarine pitcher too.
Yeah, well, it just kind of fell into it. The coach needed somebody that could throw every day, and I always said, back in those days, they brought the speed limit down to 55 miles per hour on the highways, and
yes, they did.
I said that I had about a 55 mile an hour fastball, but I could throw it every day, so I just kind of fell into that role, and I liked that. Cardinals had Al Raboski, the Mad Hungarian, and I kind of went to a lot of Cardinal games up there, and I liked him, and so I'd try to emulate the Mad Hungarian. So,
well, when you graduated college, you came back to Vienna. What was the draw to bring you back to Vienna as a coach and a teacher?
Well, I don't know. I just decided I wanted to coach. Basically, when I got to high school, that's all I ever wanted to do. So, back in those days, though, you had to teach to coach, and so teaching was kind of a sidelight for me, but I was here to coach. I wanted to coach.
But why Vienna? What brought you back here, bud?
Well, actually, Jim Wilson, Coach Wilson, was wanting someone to take over at the grade school, and so they offered me that job, and one thing led to another. I was there 12 years, and then the high school job opened up, and it was kind of interesting. Had myself, Jerry Qualls from Goreville, Darren Lee from McLeansboro, and two other guys, and the board interviewed all five of us, and Darren got the job, and of course he's won about 900 games now in his career, so I didn't feel too bad about getting nosed out by him, but they offered me the girls' job, and so that night I turned it down, and then went home, talked to my wife, and we talked about it, and I decided that would, might be a good way to get into the high school, and a little higher level of coaching, and so I went back to Mr. Kincaid, was superintendent, and I told him I'd take the job if it was still offered, and he said, well, we'll have to wait a month till the next board meeting, and so I waited a month, and then they offered it again, and so I took the girls' job, and just as life's been good.
You had one heck of a run as the girls' coach. You coached basketball. You coached some softball too, right?
Yeah. Maybe probably was more successful in softball. I had tremendous players. I had tremendous.
The feeder schools really helped you tremendously.
Yeah, I can't say enough about George Zorani at New Simpson Hill, and Johnny Huckleberry was at Divine Grade School. Kelly Stewart was my first pitching coach, and she just tremendous coaches, and I know Bobby Trower helped me several years while his daughter was coming up playing, and Mark Bean helped me a couple years. Jerry Stafford. We just had tremendous people that the people that were coaching in the Quarry League at that time were developing players right and left, and so I just had to plug them in and kind of turn them loose and let them go. But
now in basketball, you were really blessed. In 92, 93, 94, 95, you won 4 consecutive regionals. In 93, you won the sectional and you got beat in the super sectional. Who'd you lose to in that game?
Oakville.
Okay.
Yeah,
didn't they finish in the top 4?
They got second that year. They won it the next year, I believe, but they got second that year. They beat us pretty bad, but they had a heck of a team. The Hasheider girls were one girl went to Colorado and played, and the other one played I think Illinois Wesleyan. But they were really good. You
had a heck of a run in those 4 years. You were 92-15, and that super sectional loss was the farthest in basketball that any Vienna team has ever gotten. You are only one of 2 teams, or one of 3 teams that have won back-to-back regionals. You did it 4 times. The Vienna girls just did it with Coach Metcalf in 24 and 25, and we came within 7 points of being a three-peat there. Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk about with a couple of our members here in a little bit, Mr. Bean and Mr. Martin, about the only time the boys have gone back-to-back. So, you've won the most regional titles of any coach, boys or girls, here at Vienna High School. That's quite an accomplishment.
Well, thank you. We softball, we actually won.
You won a lot of regionals.
I think we won 7 in a row in softball. I think 13 overall. So it just, again, tremendous talent. We had a great summer program there, and I mentioned Kelly Stewart was my first pitching coach, but then Kay Ross came along, and Kay just was phenomenal, and her 2 daughters were, they
went on to play college.
Yeah, they both played at Evansville. Both of them were Missouri Valley Pitchers of the Year, their senior years, I believe. And, when you had talent like that, it just, I loved baseball, still do. So softball was very similar, and just good times.
And you do, I know you do the statistician now for the school, and have pulled together the history of, have you done that for softball and baseball too? Or I know you've done it for basketball, because you helped me, help give me stats.
Well, yeah, I'm working on it. I've got the girls basketball completed. I'm working on boys basketball now. I've got stuff back to about 1940, and I'm kind of working on the 30s a little bit. But
how difficult is it to come up with information from that period of time?
It's very difficult. I do the the old Southern Illinoisans. I've finally got access to the Vienna Times back to 1886, so I'm getting a lot of information that way. I've got all the old scorebooks back to 72, I think, 71, 72. So I've used a lot of that stuff. So, but I just love statistics. So.
And you weren't even a math major.
No.
Well, Ross, thanks for coming up. And 53 years. That's when you look back on that. How fast has that 53 years gone by?
Oh, gee. Well, yeah, it seems like last night we were playing somebody here in this gym, and, and that was I talked about that Metropolis game. That I can remember that like it was last night. But
The best thing they've done in this gym is they got rid of those goofy bug lights, and now we have these bright lights that are LEDs.
yeah, it's really nice.
Other than that, this gym, they've changed the bleachers. The bleachers, I don't think it seats quite as many as it used to back then, because those bleachers, they were crammed in on top of each other.
Right, yeah. Well, I remember the Goodman boys put me into the first row of the bleachers my senior year. But luckily, it was a packed house, and I landed on people, so I didn't get hurt. But
What?
it was...
I didn't have this question written down, but it just popped in my head. What was the gym you hated to go to the most?
Oh,
Mine was the Brookport gym. I hated that gym.
yeah. Probably, yeah. I'm sure that's Mark Beans, because he got a timeout called for him by Coach Wilson because he threw a behind-the-back pass, and Coach Wilson wasn't fond of that.
I remember he didn't like it. If you tried to dunk the basketball and missed too, he didn't like that very much either.
Right. Well, luckily I couldn't get up high enough to dunk. So
that wasn't my forte either.
I didn't have to worry about that.
When you wind up being the manager, you don't have to worry about dunking. And I couldn't dunk without a trampoline.
Well, I'm kind of the same way.
Well, thanks for coming up and playing along, and I really appreciate your time and for what you guys accomplished and being the leaders that you were for all the rest of us.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It's been a great life, and I hope I've got a few more years left, and we
certainly
see what
hope
happens.
so.
Yeah, I hope so.
All right. Yeah. Thanks for playing along.
Well, thank you.
We're going to get Bobby Trover up here if we can get him. All right. Were you hunting coming in here? You got your hunting vest on?
Yeah, I've been hunting. Yeah, no. Just wanted
or at least let you go out and hunt at night?
Just wanted to be seen.
Well, we're talking with Bobby Trover, Robert Bobby Trover. He was a 4-year baseball player, a 4-year basketball player, 4 years in Pep Club, 4 years at FFA, student council for 2 years, Spanish club for 2 years, the best batting average, best free throw percentage of 79%, and total points his senior year of 417, rebounds of 66, field goal 42%, and in your senior year, a 1974 graduate, you graduated from, or you went 21-5 your varsity year. Coupled that with the year before, 24-0. I talked to Ross about this a little bit. What was your thoughts, your memories of the 24-0 season, ranked 5th in the state? That's the highest any Vienna basketball team's ever been ranked, 5th in the state.
Right. It was a great season, except for that last game.
Well, we're not going to talk about that.
I don't want to talk about that last game. It was a great season. We had a great team, and we hopefully we entertained people a lot because we pressed full court almost all the time, and we ran with the ball, and it was fun.
Now, as a 4-year basketball player and baseball player, you had some pretty good baseball teams in your 4 years here too.
Right, we did.
Who all was your head coach? I know Jim Wilson was for a while, but I don't think he was here for all 4 years.
Jim was here for a freshman year, and then Tom Cole came after that. He was our coach. I can't think. Tom came maybe my senior year.
Yeah.
And but he turned the program around for us, the baseball. We had good teams, but he started teaching baseball. We brought the program to what it is today. Tom actually started that.
Tom used to play for the St. Louis Cardinals. He was a pitcher with the Cardinal, played
right.
Double-A.
Yes. Ron, you know Tom. You played for him. Tell us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I enjoyed my time playing. I loved baseball. Baseball was my better sport.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it was always a lot of fun. Going back to your senior year with the varsity going 21-5, you were mainly the point guard, but you were an all-around player. You could get in, you'd drive to the hole, you'd rebound with the trees. You just didn't. You fit the team real well.
Well, I was I tried to do what I needed to do, Ron, and you watched, and I was always, my dad always brought us up saying hustle, 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 so that was pretty much my game. Sometimes I didn't do too well, but I was always hustling.
Now, and how difficult was it, because your parents were very successful farmers, had an orchard. How difficult was it trying to play sports and still maintain and do the job that you needed to do and was expected to do at home? How difficult was that, and how much did your parents work to make sure that you had the time to do the sports?
Right. Well, I was fortunate that we worked all the time, but my dad wanted us to play sports, so that was actually number one. That took precedent over the working, so I was fortunate in that regard, so it all worked out fine.
Did you enjoy your time with the FFA?
Oh, I did. I really liked FFA a lot. It a few times it conflicted with sports, but I really enjoyed FFA.
So I'm going to do this with everybody. What kind of changes? What changes stand out to you, for you, the most 50 years later, from what the school was then to what it is now?
Well, the biggest change I see is, as you watch basketball now, and 50 years ago, we couldn't touch anybody. There'd be a foul. You couldn't carry the ball on the side or underneath it. It'd be it'd be carrying the ball. So all those things like that, as well as the three-point shot, we didn't have back then. So it's changed the game considerably.
The Euro step, there was no such thing as that back then either.
Well, you add that in there too. I forgot that. So now it's like every time they go in there, I'm thinking they're traveling, but I guess it's okay. But I don't understand it. But
I call it quite a bit from up here.
Yeah, I would too.
What was your favorite class in school?
Well, our favorite class was trying to avoid class.
Ross touched base on that about dropping you and Kenny off one day, and he got in a little bit of hot water because of that.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, we had quite a trip. We lived at around the Burnside area, and Ross Hill and Kenneth George and myself and Gary Jackson, and we had several Stanley Treat coming from that way. And so, sometimes we had a hard time making it to school. We had cars breaking down all the time, and between Kenneth George's wheel falling off and Ross's steering wheel coming off, we had quite a time getting to school.
It's a wonder you graduated.
It's a wonder we did.
What was your favorite your favorite class
in school?
Oh, you said that. Or no, we were talking
avoiding
about
class.
Avoiding.
No, my favorite class was well, besides lunch, was definitely PE, obviously.
Now, did all your years,
and that was girls' PE. That was girls' PE.
There you go.
That's where we got in trouble, going there all the time.
I can understand that one. Who was your favorite teacher?
Well, believe it or not, I enjoyed all my teachers, but Kenneth Webb stands out as one of the premier teachers that I've had in all time.
He wound up being one of the longest here.
Yeah, he was a long tenured. He was a great guy.
What is your fondest memory of Vienna High School?
I would say the memory of playing sports, being able and fortunate enough to play baseball and basketball 4 years of each sport. And it was, the memories are there. That was the biggest memory of all, just the sports.
It was kind of funny because back then we had fall baseball. You'd start right after as school started. Then you'd have 2 weeks off. You'd go into basketball. You'd have 2 weeks off. Then you go into baseball. And then we had summer baseball. And if you weren't playing that, you were expected to be here. And Mr. Wilson sit up in the top of the gym with his clipboard taking notes as to who did what, if who showed up and who didn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's about all we had to do.
Yeah, there wasn't anything else.
We didn't have cell phones. We couldn't play on that and do all the games and everything, so there wasn't anything else to do.
Oh, shoot. We still had, back then in the country, you still had the old party lines.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But what's the funniest thing that you remember in your time here?
Funniest thing. Probably, if I had time to think, it'd probably be a lot of funny things, but it wasn't, I think, funny. Well, I guess it was. A couple of occasions. One occasion, me and a couple of my buddies, we were wanting to skip class, and we had a class, and we had somebody knock on the door, and we told the teacher that we had to go out in the hallway. Somebody wanted us, and so we took off. We left school, headed downtown, and we didn't know. And then all of a sudden we thought, what are we doing? Where are we going? We didn't know, and nobody came looking for us.
You weren't really that missed.
That was the funniest thing, is they didn't care. So that kind of brought us down to reality that didn't really matter. They were glad we left.
Now, when you went off to college, and where'd you go to college, and did you play ball?
I went to Southeastern for 2 years, played basketball 1 year, baseball 2 years. Then I went to Greenville College, followed Ross Hill up there, and played basketball there 2 years and baseball 2 years.
What brought you back to Vienna?
Well, I needed a job, and came back here, and just so happened I'd applied a few places for teaching, and nothing was open then. So there was an opening for assistant basketball and assistant baseball, and I took that, and then 1 year later Jim Wilson leaves, and I got the PE job.
Did what prompted you to become a superintendent?
Well, she's sitting right over there now. I was fortunate enough to get married to Marlise, and she encouraged me at the time that I needed to get my master's degree, and I did, and it was a principalship with that, and she next thing I know, she's wanted me to get my superintendency, and I did, and I was glad I did.
She was a superintendent too here.
Yes, she was. Yes. Yeah.
And in all seriousness, she's been tremendously instrumental in working with me and helping me in my life and some of the ventures that I've been in, especially in the political world. And Marlise has always been tremendous to assist.
Right. She's a supporter.
That is, she is. So thanks for coming up and playing along. I got one final question. So it's been 50 years since you've been in 52 years since you've been in high school. Did you ever dream in your wildest imaginations that when you graduated high school that 50 some years later you'd still be here and involved with the school systems?
I did not. When I graduated, I didn't know what I was going to do. If it weren't for basketball and baseball to pursue that career, I would have spent probably my last 50 years on the farm. So.
And boy, that technology's changed over 50 years.
Yes. Yep. But I've enjoyed every minute of my life. I've enjoyed.
Thank you very much for coming up, and congratulations on all that you accomplished here. And I know that your would have been your junior year left a little bit of a sour taste in your mouth at the end of the season, but to go 24-0, be the only team in Vienna high school boys history to go undefeated in the regular season and be ranked 5th in the state, that's the highest ranking any team's ever had here. That's quite an accomplishment. Mm-hmm. Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you, Ron. Thanks for having me.
Bobby Trover, and we're going to take this down and then his headset for just a second. Then we're going to get Kenneth George to come up here and talk with him. That ought to be interesting. So we have from 1974 also Kenneth George, 4 years of basketball, 4 years of pep club, 2 years of Spanish club. He was the leading rebounder, best field goal percentage of 51.4%, 6'4", one of the taller players we had. and total points of 303, 278 rebounds, and a 71% free throw shooter your senior year. That's some pretty good numbers, bud.
You know a lot more about it than I do. I didn't know any of that stuff, really. Never paid that much attention to it.
Well, that's my job.
Yeah.
But what was it like? I asked Ross and Bobby this. What was it like being on your junior year, being on the basketball team that went 24-0, ranked 5th in the state? How much fun was that? And what do you remember most about that team?
Well, probably the most important thing about it was a real team. You know, we all got along well together. There wasn't anybody that was interested in, taking control of the game or whatever. We played to win, and that was it. There were several good teams that year. You know, you could go down through the different schools and Metropolis, Pope County, Cobden, Cary Mills. There was probably 15 pretty good teams, and it was tough to go undefeated that year. You know, we never even talked about the possibilities of going undefeated. So,
well, even Brookport. I mean,
Brookport
good Lord, you get down there in Brookport, and that gym, that was one of the most difficult gyms I've ever seen that we ever played in.
I remember playing there, and when we was taking the ball out, there was fans walking between the guy passing the ball in and the players on the court. It was so packed and stuff.
And it was a Cracker Jack box gym.
Yeah, it was a Cracker Box gym, and I think that's where Mark made his notorious behind the back pass up into the stands, and he got his own timeout called that night.
We'll ask him about that.
Yeah,
they also had that red
about
sweep hand on that clock up in the corner. They just had the one clock, and you never knew exactly how much time was left because of that sweep hand.
No, it was different playing down there for sure. There's no doubt about that.
Now, what was it like being a basketball player back then for you? What was the things you liked the best, and the things that brought you the most difficulty?
Okay. Take a couple of minutes and I'll just tell you a little short story.
Go right ahead. We got time.
First part of it, I'm not very proud of at all. You know, the second part, kind of am. Whenever I was a sophomore, okay, we had, there was 5 starters on the varsity from the Burnside. Brad Lee was a senior. Ross Hill, Gary Jackson were the juniors, and Bob Trover and myself were the sophomores on there. I ended up failing a geometry class. I didn't have enough classes for some reason. I don't know how it happened. But anyway, I flunked off the basketball team after the first semester. The worst experience of school for me, for sure. Went home, cried half the night, and everything, and stuff. And came back and talked to Coach Wilson the next day and said, is it okay if I keep practicing? So I practiced the rest of the year with the team. Couldn't sit on the bench with them or anything. Sit up in the bleachers, and it was, it was hard. It was hard to do. I was frustrated, but it made me a lot more disciplined, and appreciate the game and appreciate the teammates and the whole experience and everything. So. Going back and practicing for the rest of the year with them is the good part, and learning the discipline and the acceptance for your screw ups or whatever in life. So I learned a lot from that. That I think has carried on throughout the years. And then the junior year, I think me practicing helped our team. For the next year and the next 2 years after that. So anyway, it's a good learning experience for the kids, I think, is that, sometimes when you screw up, you just got to make the best of it, do what you can, and move on.
Sometimes adversity is the best teacher and that you can have.
Yeah, sometimes, and that's something that I wasn't really very proud of. I was embarrassed and stuff, but I wanted to play. and I wasn't going to let it stop me. You know, it stopped me that year, but it probably made me better in the long run.
How has Vienna changed as you see it in the 50 years? There's a lot of physical changes.
Oh yeah, you know, just probably just about every way you could think of. You know, there's been additions made to the building. The buildings themselves have, you know, the structures have been improved. The faculty has grown. Well, basically everything has improved. You know, it's kept up and probably led in the area. A lot of the programs were more advanced than some of the other schools are. So, you know, I think it's been a trend center, I guess you could say.
One of the things that has really stood out to me is the superintendent we have, Josh Stafford. He's big on education.
Right.
And we never had the opportunity to take college classes while we were in high school.
Right.
And it just blows me away the number of kids that graduate from Shawnee College with an associate's degree before they even get their high school diploma. That just absolutely boggles my mind that they can get that kind of education jump-started ahead of them.
Right. Times have changed.
Oh, my
For
gosh.
sure. So.
And I know, what are your thoughts about the old study hall?
I don't know. I spent a lot of time in it. I remember that. I don't know. You know, it's just part of the building. I didn't think too much about it, really. You know,
I know
I spent more time in the gym than anywhere, probably.
Well, what was your favorite class in school?
You mean that we actually went to?
I know Bobby talked about how you guys like to try to get out of school.
We had tendency to be late every now and then, occasionally, and stuff for class. But you know, most of the teachers, I liked them.
Well, of the ones that you should actually,
Miss Monroe, I really liked her.
Mm-hmm.
She was a nice lady. You know, she had trouble telling us no and stuff when we asked if we could go do something. So we liked that and everything. Of course, the PE teachers and everything. But you know, the instructors, I liked them all.
well, you beat me with the next question. Who was your favorite teacher? So, what's your fondest memory of Vienna?
I don't know. Probably just the friends that we made and stuff. And we used to, you know, like Trover and myself and Treat. Stanley Treat was in our class. You know, we weren't troublemakers, I don't think at all. But we were, you know, we liked to play pranks and stuff like that and do things that we wanted to do, whether they wanted us to or not. So just doing some of those things and just seeing what we could get by with, it was fun. And watching the other kids look at us and thinking, how the heck did they get by with that stuff and we can't, you know, stuff like that. But, you know, I don't know.
I remember Stanley as a daredevil.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
What was the funniest thing that you remember here for the 4 years you were here?
I don't know. I don't know. Mark's pointing as they don't. I don't know. I remember, you know, we goes a little back to us missing class quite a bit and stuff.
So when
we you know, Mr. Kincaid, he came as we were freshmen, and it seemed like we kind of broke into each other. Mr. Kincaid, we broke him in, he broke us in too. But we'd come in late, and it got to be a joke. You know, well, do you have a flat tire today? Did you run out of gas? Alternator go out? What happened today? You know, and stuff. And there was one day we got out, had Ross drop us off at Vincent's store up at Bloomfield. There used to be a little store there. We just got out there, and it was cold and snowing. We got out there and went in there and had some donuts and stuff, and then we went back out and we caught a ride immediately. And we got out the front of the store here, the school, and was walking across the front yard, and Mr. Lawrence met us at the front door. It wasn't Mr. Kincaid that day. And Mr. Lawrence, he had his bluff in on everybody pretty much, and he met us and he says, my, boys, what was it today? Run out of gas, flat tire. Tell me, what was it today? Me and Trover looked and said, Mr. Lawrence, Ross Hill left us. We didn't have a ride. We had to hitchhike to school this morning. And he said, you boys go on to class. And then in world history or whatever it was, third or fourth hour Ross had that day, he didn't know we'd told Mr. Lawrence that. And Mr. Lawrence up there, and he's getting ready to have a test or something. Said, my, Mr. Hill, what did you leave those boys alone up there for and stuff? And so it was, little stuff like that, silly stuff, but they're fun to look back on and stuff, and that we're innocent, not a bunch of trouble. So anyway.
Funny that Ross brought that up too.
Oh, did he? Okay, yeah.
Now,
well, we're telling the truth.
What was it when you graduated 50-some years ago here, 52, what brought you back to Vienna area?
I don't know, after I got through with school and stuff, I grew up in the Burnside, came back there. Right after I got out of college, my dad got sick, and he was sick for like 3 or 4 months and passed away. So then it was just my mom. And I just ended up staying around, basically, and stuff, and found jobs and worked around here and didn't go on anywhere else.
Where'd you go to college at?
Shawnee and SEMO.
Okay. Did you play sports?
At Shawnee did. SEMO didn't get to. Motorcycle wrecks and stuff, but anyway, that's the thing with that undefeated team. 5 starters played college basketball, which is of some form, and in little schools you will not see back then or even today in small schools. If you see 1 or 2 kids that played college sports, that's a lot, but to have all 5 starters averaging double figures, play college ball, and any given night could have been the one that pulled the plug, did the best, or did what needed to be done. So that doesn't happen a whole lot for that often. So we were fortunate, and all 5 of us ended up playing some form of basketball. Bobby and Ross and I think Mark too played some baseball as well in college. So, it's pretty fortunate to be involved with a group of guys that way.
So, why I have you here, Gary, we haven't really talked about him very much, and I know he's listening out in Boston, Massachusetts. And what are some funny things you can say about Gary Jackson? Or serious things, for that matter.
Well, I was just gonna, as far as our ball team, he was a good, team player for sure. He was a horse. He could play. He could jump.
He was solid. He was a heck of a rebounder too.
Yeah, he rebounded well. He could use his left hand as good as his right hand. He was ambidextrous, and stuff, and. He was salty. He could play, and he probably went on and played. He ended up playing, I think, down in Laterno, Texas. I'm not sure how big the school was, but he's had a pretty good career, and he's had a good professional career too. So he's turned out pretty good. We've not been around each other in years and stuff. So, but
I got to see him when he came back for the when we had the reunion for the regionals. And that was really cool.
Yeah. Whenever he got inducted to the Hall of Fame, saw him that night. That's the first time in years that I'd seen him and stuff. It's good seeing stuff. So he's done well.
Well, thank you very much for coming up and talking.
Okay, appreciate it.
And congratulations on your time here. The basketball teams we had, those seasons, we was very successful both at all levels. The freshmen, the JV. I'll talk about this with Neil a little bit, but it amazed me. We had so many kids in the program that freshmen back then had an A and a B. We had sophomore basketball, we had JV basketball, and you had varsity basketball.
That's what it was. Yep.
And you were limited on the number of quarters that you could play back then.
I think it was
96?
96 quarters, I think.
It was.
Because whenever I was a freshman, I played freshman, sophomore, JV. And I had like 200 quarters or something like that. It was crazy. So, but anyway, the one thing that I regret, as far as the sports goes, is why one of us, the night that Carey Mills beat us, one of us didn't say, "Coach, how come we're not pressing?" Because we played.
And that was us. We when we come out that my freshman year, that was your junior year in '73. Seemed like we picked the team up in the press coming out of the locker room.
We did.
And but that particular night, for whatever reason, I don't think we ever did slap the press on them until late in the game.
About 2 minutes to go in the game. Yeah, we beat them 26 points 3 weeks before on their home court, and then let them come down here and stick it to us that night.
And the funny thing about that, the next year with Duff and Kingston up at El Dorado, IHSA sends them to El Dorado, and they knock off the number 1 ranked team in the state that year, the El Dorado Eagles. Yep. And talk about soothsayers.
Yep, they did that. And they almost did it a third year, but I forgot who it was. But they got us, then they got El Dorado. Oh, they almost got Ridgeway too, and stuff. But yeah, it was
That's back when Bob Dallas was their head coach.
at Ridgeway, yeah.
Well,
so Bobby Lane was the Carey Mills coach.
But they had some good teams.
Oh yeah,
Carey Mills. They just won I believe they won their first game of the year Saturday against Shawnee. They get the honor of playing Goreville in the quarterfinals of the regional.
Well, they might as well stay in Sling County and stuff. Save the gas.
At least they don't have to go all the way to Cobden. They get to just stop in Goreville.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So.
Well, Ken, thanks for coming up, and I really truly appreciate your time, and it's been fantastic taking a walk down memory lane.
Okay, thank you.
Kenny George, and that takes care of our 1973 and 74, and we're going to get Tina Gully here next, and she is from our first person with 1975. All right, we've got Tina Gully. That's what I remember her as. Tina Gully Penrod. She's married to Steve, who is now the mayor.
That's right.
And you were in the pep club for 4 years, gymnastics for 2 years, and the captain 1.
Oh, you looked this all up, didn't you?
Oh, I got your bio on you, girl.
Okay.
You were in the FHA for 4 years, the first vice president, freshman, sophomore vice president, and junior president. You were who's among American high school students.
Okay.
Homecoming candidate, and a cheerleader for 3 years.
Right.
So the first question I have to ask you is, and I know you're involved to a degree with the cheerleading today.
Sort of.
How has cheerleading changed in 50 years here at Vienna High School?
Tremendously. Mrs. Huckleberry, do you remember Janice Huckleberry? Okay. She began...
You talk about a stickler for the way things should be done.
Exactly. She was a great PE teacher and a great cheer coach, and she changed a lot of things so that cheerleaders at Vienna didn't look like cheerleaders everywhere else, even back in the 70s when I was here. I think that just instilled something in me. I loved that she was an encouraging coach and someone who believed in us, and we did really well. And then a few years after I graduated, I started coaching cheer at Vienna Grade School. And 1 year in, Lawrence Kincaid asked me to take the cheerleaders at the high school. So I did. That changed a lot of things. We worked really hard. It took years of building, but cheerleading is just different, very different now than it was back then. It's very competitive.
Well, the interesting thing that I saw was every one of the girls back when I was in high school, they were gymnasts.
Yes.
I mean, I was amazed, and you guys had competitions during the basketball games
Yes.
of backflips. Who could go the farthest doing backflips from one baseline to the other? And we actually had a couple of girls that could go the entire way,
Yep.
which
Wasn't me, but yes.
that was phenomenal.
It was, yes. And at the same time that Miss Huck was doing good things with cheerleaders here, we also had a gymnastics team for the first time. And so, I don't know, 2 or 3 years that I was here, we competed against other schools with gymnastics, just like if you look at the Olympics, of course not to that level, but the bars and the beam and the vault and the floor. So she built that program from the basics and the foundation all the way through and could use that into cheer. And it really was the beginning of cheerleading looking different at Vienna.
Could cheerleaders back in the 70s, could they get scholarships to go to college back then? That was just an extracurricular activity, right?
It was. I mean, maybe somewhere, not in small towns, not in like Vienna. I don't think that was a thing at all. The first person that I know from Vienna that got a scholarship and, well, cheered in college was Trina Horn. And I don't know, Trina probably graduated in like, maybe 95, 96, I'm guessing. I may be off a few years, but she cheered at the University of Evansville and had a very successful career cheering there. That's the first one that I know of.
I know I have a granddaughter that's going to SIU now, but she was on the cheer team. They don't call them cheerleaders anymore; they're cheer team. And she actually got a scholarship offer to go to college, and there wasn't any opportunity for her to go to cheer after college, so she wanted to be a speech pathologist, and she wanted to concentrate on that. So she got a full ride scholarship going to SIU because she was smart. And
Most cheerleaders are smart.
Yeah, well, to do and I would watch her, and I'm going, holy cow, because they were. She was required to take gym to be a gymnastic. Her mom was a gymnast from Goreville, and it was just amazing to me how these girls can, I mean, the things that they can do and the spinning that they do and how high they can go up. And I know they put restrictions, the IHSA has put restrictions on things that you can do today that you guys didn't have any restrictions. It was Katie bar the door back then, right?
That's right. We didn't have any. When I coached here in the late 80s and 90s and early 2000s, there were a lot of legal and illegal things that IHSA had in their book, and it was, something that was very, very important that you stick with, and they still do today. Those things change over the years. I mean, sometimes what's illegal this year, they may decide it's okay, it's legal to do that later. But the girls, the last few years here at Vienna and all over, it's unbelievable, some of the things that they can do. And it's just a great thing.
How cool was it that did you coach your daughter when she
Yes.
was coming through the system?
Yes.
Okay. How cool was it that your daughter comes back and now she's the cheerleader coach?
It's very cool. Yeah, it's very cool. I coached both of my girls. They were in the middle of the 21 years that I coached, and I coached a few years before they were here, and then the years they were here, and then a few years after. It's really cool that Stacy is the cheer coach and that she's extremely successful. And it's also really cool that Stephanie is the pep club sponsor and that she does a really great job. So it's, kind of cool that they both are interested in that and love this school, love Vienna. Always an Eagle.
It is. They call it Eagle Nation for a reason,
That's
isn't
right,
it?
yeah.
The cheer team that we have this year
Yes.
has been the farthest advancing.
Yes.
And they didn't have the finish that they were hoping for.
True.
But still, the things that this team accomplished this year has set a standard, a bar for everybody else to shoot for.
Yes. They were the first team of any kind from Vienna in 20 years or more that won a sectional. So that's huge. They got second place at state in the ICCA, which is the Illinois Cheerleader Coaches Association, and that's a very big deal. They made it into the top 25 in IHSA, and not sure why they weren't in the top 10. Almost everybody you talk to thinks they should have been, but they weren't. But there's always next year. It really set a fire under them. They only lost one senior. We've got her so far because she's still got another week or so with us, but we only have one senior on the squad this year. So look out for next year because there's, just like you look up there and the boys are losing 4 seniors this year, and the girls basketball team, I think there's 7.
7 of them.
But we're only losing one cheerleader. She's a very important cheerleader. We love Addie, and we wish that, she was just a junior, but she's a senior, and she's going to be going on to college, and Vienna High School cheerleaders are going to be phenomenal next year.
Now, where'd you go to college at?
Well, I started at Shawnee as a traditional student right out of Vienna High School, but then I didn't finish, and I got married and had 2 kids and was a stay-at-home mom. And then when I was almost 50, I went back to school at Mid-Continent University in Mayfield and got my bachelor's degree and then went on to Murray to get a master's.
And what's your master's in?
Organizational communication.
Really?
Yes.
That's good. That's awesome. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions that I did with everybody else. And how has Vienna changed in the 50 years you've been out of school?
Oh, my. Oh, that's a hard one, Ron. I should have had advance notice. I would have come up with something really good. Well, of course, it's changed like everything else in 50 years, but it's still a small town. It's still a tight-knit community. We still try to help each other, and the schools are a huge, huge part of this community, Vienna Grade School and Vienna High School and all the feeder schools. We love our schools. So I don't know. There's probably less business now than there was 50 years ago, just like every other small town. But in the last few years, there have been an influx of some businesses, and that's always cool to see new things popping up, and they're very supportive. All of those businesses are very supportive, just like you saw the Future Cheerleaders T-shirts tonight and all the sponsors on the back of them. They're very supportive. So I guess it's changed, but probably not much different than any other little town.
The school itself has changed quite drastically. We're still in the same location, but the school, we had the breezeway between the 2 schools, froze our tail ends off in the wintertime. And what I thought was funny was back then you could smoke on campus. And the teachers and the students would go out here on the south side of the gym, and that was the smoking area. And I always remember Mr. Jeffries. He was one of the few teachers that would show up out there.
The smoke pit?
Yeah.
I was never out there. I was a cheerleader, and Miss Huck would have killed us if we had smoked. So, that was not something I did, but I remember it being there. But, yeah, that's totally different. I mean, there's a lot of things that are different. But I think for the most part, they're really good things.
I remember when they did away with the old building, where the study hall was, the library and all that. Mrs. Arnold's class, algebra class was in there. And when they did that, tore that down, they built a new library. And Barbara Mizell was the librarian back then. And that was totally different, and it was
Yes.
really cool. That was the first new building that had been built at this school campus since probably the 50s.
Probably, yes.
Because well, no, it had to be
The
the
gym.
67 when this
Yeah.
complex was
The
built.
gym was
So it was
built,
around
but yeah.
67. But it was the when you practiced. Did you? I know we called it the upper gym and the lower gym, or the girls' gym and the boys' gym.
Old gym and the new gym.
Old gym and the new gym.
Yes.
And that was you did the. I know when we played freshman and sophomore basketball, we'd have to move the the parallel bars and all of the equipment. We'd have to move it to the side, and then before we could even practice. So
Yep.
that was different back then.
Yep.
Did you ever go down into the senior underneath the gym?
The student lounge.
The student lounge
Sure.
underneath
Yeah.
the stage
Yeah.
in the old gym?
If you were a senior, I think might have been junior and senior, I don't know, and had 4.0 or higher, and you had a study hall, you could go to student lounge instead. So there wasn't a teacher in there. There was usually anywhere from 10 to 12 or 15 students, and we played cards, listened to the radio, did homework. Yeah, it was fun. Do you remember that? It was just hilarious because it was all different squares of carpet, like a million different colors and styles, and it was all put together like a patchwork quilt, and just old furniture that people donated and stuff. It was really tacky, but it was fun because you felt like you were kind of on your own.
There was, and two things that I thought was funny back from that period. Mr. Kincaid, there was always a rumor of a whipping machine in back in his back office, and then where the lunchroom was where the weight area
Right.
is now, and that was the old lunchroom when you go down there.
Mrs. Dark and
Dungy?
Yeah, it was Mrs. Dark. Her last name was Dark.
But it was a whole.
Oh, it was very much. I wasn't down there very much. I took my lunch most of the time.
We used to, over on the other side of the gym here, they had ping pong tables. And we'd come in here during lunchtime and play ping pong.
Yep, I remember that.
Those were lots of fun. What was your favorite class?
PE.
So far, that's been the favorite class
I'm
of
going to just
everybody.
be honest, yeah.
Who was your favorite teacher?
Mrs. Huckleberry.
Okay. And what is your fondest memory of Vienna High School?
One? That would be really, really hard. I mean,
Well, one or two then.
yeah, basketball games were it for me. Cheerleading, basketball games, but homecomings. Homecomings were always fun. Homecoming week. Back then we had the homecoming parade, so we would be down in the shop all week building the floats that actually had the chicken wire and the tissue paper like the old ones did. And we'd poster parties for all of the queen candidates, and that was just a fun time. That was probably my best memories.
Now you were a cheerleader on the 75 year.
Yes.
What was it like being a cheerleader that season when we beat Massac County, or Metropolis at that time, on our home floor in the regional championship game?
It was wonderful. I went to school in New Columbia as a grade school student, and that was in Massac County. So this was back before you had to go to a certain county.
But you lived in...
I lived in Johnson
Johnson.
County, barely over the Johnson County, Massac County line, but I lived in Johnson County, but I was only like 6 or 7 miles from New Columbia grade school, and I was 14 miles from Vienna High School. So back then, before money was the main thing, and it was just whatever's best for the students, we went to New Columbia grade school, which was a Massac County school. 80 to 85% of the students who went there were from Massac County, and only 15 or 20% were from Johnson County. So the entire time that I went to New Columbia, I got it rubbed in my face that Metropolis always beats Vienna, and they did. They always did. But every year that I was a cheerleader at Vienna High School, Vienna beat Metropolis. And so I would be standing right down there because the pep club would sit over there. I'd be down there with all the cheerleaders, and the minute that buzzer would go off, I'd march myself down here to the visitors and rub it in their noses, the ones that I can remember from school. You know, there would be 10 or 15 kids in that crowd that was from New Columbia, just like I was over the last few years. And they never were wanting to talk about it too much when we beat them, but they loved talking about it whenever they beat us. So they were our big rivalry, as I remember it. I'm not sure why. They're a larger school than us, but, you know, they were our big rivalry.
I remember that night when the championship game, if somebody had been concerned about the fire code,
Oh, my.
I've never seen so many people in
was
this
crazy.
gymnasium, and that was the first time that Vienna had won a regional championship in 1975 in
like
32 years.
Yeah, I knew it was 30-something.
It was, I just happened to have that here. 1943, Glenn Jones was the head coach back then. And I remember their head coach made the statement in the Southern Illinoisan that he wasn't worried about the regional championship game. He was more worried about getting sectional tickets than he was the Vienna game. And because, you know, they'd beaten us during the year.
Sure.
And so they come in here that particular night, and it didn't come down
Didn't work that way.
the way they thought. And that was the beginning of a 2-year run that was pretty cool, back-to-back regional championships. So when I know it was crazy that day, there was no school being done. We had classes, but there wasn't any school being done.
Right. A lot of excitement.
It was everybody and their brother was trying to get a ticket to come to that game that night. And I know as a manager, I had some family try to get, you know, that I was able to get some tickets for. But it was nice knowing that we had a seat or a spot in the gym. We didn't have to worry about whether we were going to get a ticket to come into the gymnasium that night.
Yep.
And there were hundreds and hundreds of people turned away. I don't remember how many.
I don't either, but it was packed. I know that.
But they were sitting in the concrete over there. They were lined up and down 30 deep in the entryways, and they had to close the doors here on the floor because and lock them because they couldn't. There wasn't enough room for people to try to come in there. It was
It was crazy.
It was crazy, but it was it was a fun crazy.
Crazy, yeah. yeah. It's a fun memory.
So, as the cheerleading group, what stands out to your mind that season and that particular regional tournament?
What stands out in my mind about that particular game?
That particular game or the whole season?
Well, we just had for 2 years, my junior year and senior year, even my sophomore year, we had a very, very successful, a lot of wins, and that was really cool. Of course, the cheerleaders always won the conference tournament competition, and that was always cool to be part of that. It was just a really good time to be an Eagle. You know, it's always a good time to be an Eagle, but it was a fun time and a lot of good memories. I just think that the winning our regional tournament was just the icing on the cake. You know, it was really cool.
How close were you with the other cheerleaders? How were you guys a tight group?
With the other Vienna cheerleaders? Oh yeah, still am. You know, especially the ones that ran my class. Even though one's 3 or 4 hours away in Indiana and one's many hours away in South Carolina, we still talk, we still text, we still send funny memes back and forth to each other. We're, still really good friends. And some of the ones that were older than me or younger than me but still on the squad at the same time that I was here, we're still friends. We still talk. We just don't see each other very often because most of them, as you know, don't live right here. It's hard to. I was about the only one, wasn't I?
Well, and that was going to be my last question to you. What brought you back?
I never left.
Oh, okay. Well, that's one way to do it.
I never left. I thought about leaving. I thought about, all kinds of silly things, but I just never left.
Now you and Steve dated in high school, didn't you?
We did not really.
You did not.
We were really good friends, and well, we might have snuck around a couple of times, you know, and gone out on dates. But we really didn't start dating until like a year or two afterwards. He went to Shawnee during the day as a traditional student and graduated from there, and then went to SIU. And I went to work and went to Shawnee at night. So we really didn't see each other much while we were at community college because he was daytime, I was nighttime. But when he started school at SIU, probably within 3 months or so, we were dating like exclusively. And then about a year and a half, 2 years later, got engaged, and 6 months later married, and now it's been almost 47 years.
Wow. That's tremendous.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I remember Steve, you guys graduated both in 75, right?
Yes.
And I remember both of you very, very well. But, you know, we ran in different circles a little bit, even back then. Mm-hmm. But I was very proud that I learned everybody's name in school. Now, that stayed all the way up to my senior year, and then when I was a senior, I didn't care about the freshmen.
You don't care about those younger ones. Yeah, it's the way it usually is. Yeah. Yeah.
So I broke my own tradition on that.
Yeah.
But what I remember for Vienna High School was, you know, everybody got along for the most part. Mm-hmm. You know, and there's disagreements and stuff, but the funniest thing that I think of was, and how things have changed. Everybody who owned a pickup truck
yeah.
back then had a gun rack
Sure.
in the back of their truck.
Yeah.
And there were no extended cabs. It was
No.
and
nobody thought anything about that.
you put guns. Everybody that had a truck had a gun rack, had two guns
Mm-hmm.
in there, and not one person was ever harmed in any way, shape, or form.
It's a different
with
world.
that, it was talk about day and night difference,
Mm-hmm.
and that to me is one of the biggest changes.
It is.
But
It is.
well, thank you very much for coming
you.
up and playing along.
Sure. Thanks for asking me.
It's. Can you believe that it's been 50 years since you were in high school?
51 for me.
Yeah.
Had my 50th class reunion last June, and I think there was about 30 or 40 students out of the class, and along with their spouses, that were there, and it just doesn't seem possible.
How many people graduated in 75?
Paul Animal and I think, from the best we can gather, about 96 or 98. We really aren't sure. I mean, we're talking, and we really aren't trying to figure out how many graduated. That's how many was in our class. So if 2 or 3 didn't actually graduate, had to go to summer school or finish GED later, we're not sure about that. But we're pretty sure it was either about 96 or 98.
I'm going to talk this with the guys, Neil Martin and David Jelzovic, but I have, in my yearbook, I have the commencement program from that night. So I know there was 96 names.
That's
I was
cool.
one of
Yeah.
96 people
Yeah,
that
yeah.
graduated on this floor in 3 months on May 31st, 1976, our bicentennial year.
Yep.
So that was pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I love it that Steve and I graduated from here. Both of our daughters graduated from here. I've had 2 granddaughters so far graduate from here, and in 3 months I'll have a grandson that will graduate from here. And hopefully, if nothing happens, there was another grandson who's a freshman and a granddaughter who's in the 5th grade at Vienna Grade School. They'll graduate from here. And I have a great grandson
Wow.
that someday might graduate from here.
That's awesome.
It is, yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
And it's quite an honor. 47 years. That's huge.
Yep, in May.
In May. May what?
25th.
Was it a Saturday?
It was a Friday.
Friday night?
It was
So
a Friday.
where did you go on your honeymoon?
Well, we went to Hot Springs, Arkansas, because I got a postcard in the mail about free vacation. So we thought, why not? You know, why spend money? Why not just do this? So we went to Hot Springs, Arkansas, and of course we had to listen to the spiel of somebody talk. Yeah.
But
But that's where we went.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you have Pam and I. August. We got married. My birthday was August the 10th. We got married August of 1978. So we've been married. We'll be married. 48 years come August of this year.
Yeah, you're ahead of me. Had to wait till Steve got out of school.
Yeah, that's true. You were smart. We didn't. Took me, after I got married, I had 1 year under my belt at SIU, and I was moving along pretty good. And then we got married, and then a little over a year later, Pam becomes pregnant. And, we couldn't squeeze two nickels together back then. And it was funny, so I quit school because she couldn't work, and she was an LPN, and she had some difficulty with pregnancy. So I was going to say, well, I'll just take a semester off. Wound up being 2 years.
Dangerous, yeah.
But I finally got my degree.
Yes, well, good. Congratulations.
Took me 2 extra years.
But you got it.
I got her. Man, the rest is history. But well, thank you very much for coming along, and tell Steve thanks for letting you stay out late.
I will. To call him, have him come get me. We
There
only
you
live
go.
about a mile that way, so we're good.
Stick around. I'll take you. I'll drop you off. I got to go that way anyway.
Thanks.
That's Tina Gully, Penrod, and now we're moving along a little slower than I thought we would. But Mr. Bean.
Here.
So, Mark,
Yes, sir.
your bio for when you were in school, you played basketball for 4 years, varsity of 3 of them. You were all conference for 3 years. Who's who among American high school students on the Vi-High Opinion for a year, freshman sweetheart, junior escort, homecoming escort, and your senior year, the basketball team went 21-3.
24-3.
24-3. Well, they had that wrong in the book then. So let me make a note of that.
Okay.
But started off, you were on the sophomore year in '73. The team that went 24-0 was ranked 5th in the state.
Right.
And what were your thoughts of that season?
Well, it was a big deal for the whole community. We got on a great run. We had kids from Buncombe and Cypress and Vienna and Belknap, New Burnside. It was a countywide thing, and we had lots of people contributing. And it was such a good run. And when we got hot and started winning a lot of games, we started filling this gym up. So it was always fun to play in this gym when it was like it was tonight with pretty much capacity crowd. So it was fun and with a great group of guys. So it was a great season.
As the season kept wearing on, and you win 5 games, then 10, and now you're at 15, 18, hit 20 games. As that season progressed, was there more pressure each game? Did you guys feel that? Because you were very tight knit, even though you had some seniors, juniors, sophomore. You were a sophomore
Right.
then.
Yeah.
How tight was that team?
Very tight. It was amazing. For some reason, we just gelled. Gary Jackson was a leading scorer and a really rugged player, kind of a man out there playing with boys. Danny Underwood was a strong senior rebounder. Kenneth, Bobby, myself, we all just played together. And we all kind of knew our roles. Everybody kind of had a job to do. And it was fun. We as far as the pressure, we kind of had a bullseye on our back. After a while, people started recognizing we were winning all these games and we were getting state rankings, and so it made it tough. We had some games that were close and had some luck to win a couple of games that we could have lost. So it was just a good run.
I remember as the team, we were the running Eagles back then,
Yeah.
and it seemed like we picked people up in a press coming out of the locker room for warm-ups. But
Coach Wilson told us when he conditioned us that we were going to pick him up when they got off the bus. He said, we're gonna press and we're going to run. So we always practiced where we would fly. We would have a guy outlet pass. You immediately looked on defensive rebound for the guy to outlet pass, and then we would have a 3-man fast break. We practiced that endlessly, and we ran. So we knew what we were in for.
What was when what did they call them? Where you start at the baseline and you go the free throw line back?
They call them shuttles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hated those things.
Yeah, we all hated them, but it was one of those things that you figure out that's going to make you better, so you just go ahead and suck it up and throw up and get it done and go on.
And if you didn't do it in his time frame, you got to do it again.
Yeah, you get the pleasure to do it again. You know, if it didn't work, so you just suit up and do it again. And I think we encouraged each other too. I mean, there would be times where guys were hurting or ready to get sick, and other guys would pick them up and get it done. So that's what we did.
So, in the 51 years that you've been out of school, how has Vienna changed in that 51-year period?
The school?
Team? The school.
Oh gosh, I don't know. It's a great school now. It was a good school then too. I don't know. It's a lot more things going on. They have more programs at the school than we had. We had the basic stuff and now there's all these programs that kids can get involved in. So it's a great place to go to school.
What was your favorite class in high school?
Oh, well, none of them really. I think we were talking down there earlier, Bobby and Kenneth and Ross and I were all sitting down and reminiscing, and we're talking about a few things that we couldn't ever talk on the air about, so we had a great time doing that. But Mike Stewart was one of my favorite teachers, and I wasn't great at English, but we had a journalism class where we did the school newspaper, and I always enjoyed that. Mike was a assistant basketball coach during that season that we had that undefeated regular season, and the other 2 seasons that I played. So I always enjoyed him. I thought he was a great athlete when he was in high school, and played some college baseball, I think. So I always enjoyed him, and so. For lack of anything great. And also enjoyed shop class because my now father-in-law was the shop teacher then, but I didn't know that was going to happen. That's Jack Jones. So
Funny how things work out,
you
huh?
Know, yeah.
So you beat me to the who was your favorite teacher end of it. What's your fondest memory of Vienna?
From playing sports here at school?
Just your fondest memory, period. Can be whatever.
Well, the thing that I always think about is how we had such a good run with basketball, and how it was a big community thing, that we got such support from the community, and we had great teams, great players. The year we went 24-0 in the regular season, I think the JV team was like 17-1 that year. So we had great athletes that pushed each other to be better. If you were slacking off a little bit, there was somebody ready to take your place. And we had some incidents where we had a couple of guys that were injured, and one of my buddies, Randy Newton, missed out on our junior year because of an illness, which he was about equal to me early playing basketball, and he came back his senior year and helped us win a regional. He was a horse that came back healthy. So, it's just the environment of being here and in that run that we had during those years.
Now, you were a starter on the 1974-75 team, and I'm going to talk with Neil about this a little bit too. You were part of the first team that had won a regional here at Vienna High School in 32 years, 1943, with Glenn Jones being the head coach. What was that like?
Well, I'll give you a little history on that. The teams that we'd had here under Coach Wilson, the 24-0 team, we got upset in the first game of the regional, so that broke everyone's heart. Then the next year we played Brookport here in the championship game, lost again by 1. Finally, in my senior year, we put it all together and played some great basketball and beat Metropolis, who was I think they were ranked 2nd or 3rd in the state at the time. Tough team. They'd only lost maybe the one game that we'd beat them prior in the year here. And the crowd was huge here. That's probably the most people they've ever put in this gym. So that was a big night. So it's a memory I'll always have. I mean, it was just an unbelievable night, and to know that over the failures that we had earlier, we came through that year and got it done. I also want to say that I think one of the things that was an advantage for us was playing here at Vienna in this gymnasium, because there were some other teams prior to our run, like the '66 team with Chester Lawrence and Max Hook, Larry Mizell, some other guys that were just as could have easily won a regional here at our place, but they had to go to Metropolis to play. And in '69, they opened up the gym here, which allowed us to have the regional at home. So that was part of that story. I think maybe the Board of Education decided they'd try to help us out to have a regional championship by building this nice gymnasium.
Well, one of the things that was interesting, I remember the old gym at Metropolis, and I think this gym is actually bigger seating capacity-wise than that old gym was. And but once this gym was built, it seemed like for every other year, 1 year it would be down in Metropolis, and then the next year the regional would be here.
I can testify to you that when I was a freshman, we had the regional here, and then my sophomore year, junior year, and senior year, it was here too.
Was it?
Yeah.
Because we seated more people.
We seated more people. Now, Metropolis had an older gymnasium that they now have a newer, bigger gymnasium at Massac County. So that's when I think it started probably switching back from year to year.
Okay.
I don't know.
Now, when after we win that game and we go up and we're in the sectional and we got beat in the first game of the sectional.
Yeah, let's not talk about that, right?
No, I want to talk about after that. We come back and the bus was just unbelievably quiet. It was like a tomb.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, we get to New Burnside and there had to be, it seemed like hundreds. I don't know how many it was, but the fire trucks were there, the cars were there. We had a parade going from New Burnside all the way down to the square.
Right.
And they had the square set up, and we got off the bus, and the varsity players, y'all got to talk a little bit.
Right.
And that took a lot of that sting out.
Oh,
what was
great.
that like that night?
Well, after such a, the end of the season, the end of my high school career and other guys too, we were all down. Of course, we had been riding the high of winning the regional, but to know that even though we lost, we had still great fan support. Everybody was still very appreciative of what we did and showed us a lot of love by showing up on the square and thanking us basically for a great season. I think they were still thanking us for the regional championship. So that meant a lot.
That took a lot of the sting out of that.
It did, yeah.
And where'd you go to college at?
First year I went to Kentucky Wesleyan in Owensboro. I got a basketball and baseball scholarship there. Didn't like that school. After a year I went to Shawnee for a year and played both sports there. And then I finished up at Murray State, playing baseball at Murray State for 2 years.
Then after you graduated, what brought you back to Vienna?
Family. I was in the insurance business in Peoria. My wife was going to a physical therapy school up in Peoria at the U of I, and I got the opportunity to come back to Vienna. And she got the opportunity to come back to Paducah and work at Lourdes Hospital, and she was there for off and on for over 30 years. I got a call from Chester Lawrence one day asking me if I'd be interested in working with him in the insurance business because he had heard I was coming back to work with another company in Paducah. And I thought, yeah, I'll do that. So we worked together for about 38 years, and then I retired. So that's what brought me back. And then my family. I lost my father when he was pretty young. I was 19. And, my mom being a widow, I felt kind of responsible to come back and, help her the best we could. So we did. So that's our story.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So how long have you been married now?
Oh, gosh, Ron, don't do that to me. I got married in 1979, and do the math on that.
Well, that would be 46 years.
There you go.
47.
Hey, I told you math was not my favorite class.
Well, when did you get married?
May 19th, 1979.
So it would be 47 years this year.
I'll take your word for it.
So congratulations. That's an awesome, that's quite an accomplishment.
Yeah, my high school sweetheart.
Is it really?
Yeah, you were talking about homecoming and all that stuff. I was her escort in homecoming, and yeah, so we got together in high school and married later.
So what was her maiden name?
Kelly Smith.
Okay.
Yeah.
And she was a cheerleader too, wasn't she?
For a while. Then she was a pep club president later on. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very, very much
You're welcome.
for coming up and
Yeah,
talking.
thanks for doing
and
this.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. You know, I got to be a manager in both the 75 and the 76 seasons. And but that was really unbelievable, being able to play, be here, be a witness, and be a part of that basketball team in '75.
We were talking earlier, Ron, that we felt like you were instrumental in helping our team up to a certain point. And when we played Carey Mills and lost the regional game, we felt like you gave Coach Wilson bad advice, and that's why and that's why you told him not to press those guys late in the game, and we're blaming you for that.
The $1 million question, seriously, and I don't think anybody ever asked the question that I'm aware of, why? Why would we not press? And that was the $1 million question that nobody seems to know.
There's only one person that knows, and he died a few years back, so I can't tell you.
But Coach Wilson was a tremendous coach for basketball, especially.
Absolutely.
I've never seen anybody so meticulous, and he had everything down that we were going to do in practice on a clipboard.
Yep.
And literally, I mean, it would be right, boom, 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 and
Right.
they would, as soon as the practice was over, we're done, we're out of here.
Yeah, he was very, very thorough, so I think that helped our success too. Yeah.
Well, Mark, thank you very
welcome.
much for
Thanks,
coming
Mark.
up.
Yep.
And congratulations on a very successful career. We hope you're around for another 20 years, bud.
At least. See you.
That's Mark Bean. And now we're going to get Neil Martin up here. I'm doing great, bud. So now we're into 1976. 50 years ago, in 3 months, 50 years ago, we will have graduated on this floor.
Yeah.
And hard to believe, isn't it?
It is hard to believe.
So Neil Martin, baseball player for 4 years, all conference and all state for 3. Baseball, our senior year, the baseball team went 31-4, won the conference 13-0. Neil was the batting average award winner with hitting .421 his senior year, the MVP of baseball and basketball. Played basketball 4 years, all conference 3 of them. Most athletic was voted. Pep Club for 4 years, sophomore sweetheart, junior escort, who's who among American high school students, Society of Distinguished American High School Students. That's quite a resume, bud.
Don't you just pay for some of that stuff? You just said,
Actually, I got that all. That was all out of the yearbook.
I think they just pay for that sometimes. They get stuff in the mail from your parents get stuff in the mail. You have to sign it up, and I think that happens.
The funniest thing, Neil, is that I remember you and I and Kim Hill all moved in here for our freshman year.
We did.
And the 3 of us were pretty tight in those our 4 years here, and
Everybody else knew somebody.
exactly. And well, you knew a whole bunch of people because you didn't have to move very far.
No, but Goreville and Vienna didn't really like each other much back then. So
And the funny thing was, my mom graduated from this high school in 1956, and so my parents got divorced, and that's how I wound up. We lived with my grandparents on Simpson Blacktop, Ed and Robbie Simmons, and so we came in, and she told me about an incident that happened when she was in high school, probably 1955, somewhere right in there, 55 or 56, when they were at the old gym, and Goreville was playing here, and there was a riot, literally.
Really?
In the gym, and they had to bring the cops in, and people were arrested, and it was hilarious. Not funny, haha, but people, there was some people that was hurt, and the trophy case got busted, and the whole 9 yards. And
that's probably why we didn't play each other for another 23 years.
Yeah, and it was the baseball team back in the 70s when we were here. The baseball teams finally started playing each other just a little bit.
Yeah.
But they didn't play each other in basketball for
we
ever.
played that 24-0 team did play Goreville.
Did we?
Yeah, and that was the team Greg Cruz was on, and we beat them pretty good. I mean, full court press most of the time, and
Greg was a pretty good player.
Oh man, he was great, but when you got 5 guys on you, you got some trouble. He was a great player.
So, do the same thing I've done with everybody. How has this school changed in the 50 years that we've been here? What's your biggest things that you see with changing?
Well, I don't know. I don't think it changed a lot. I mean, there's still a lot of structure to it. I mean, Josh does a good job with I think with the discipline and I think like Kincaid did, he was part of they're part of the whole school and really buy into it. So I think we have a very good community school, and I think people understand that and see that. I don't think things have changed as much as people want to say they have. I mean, some of the stories I'm sure my comrades told you think, golly, we'd be putting them people in jail right now.
Well, I was amazed at how much Bobby Trover and Ross Hill and Kenny George they wanted to get out of school, and that surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, they
now,
were.
What I was thinking, like the old study hall that we had, where you'd throw pennies up there and spit wads, and you'd go zinging around.
Yeah, and
when the breezeway between where the cafeteria is now, the lunch area, used to have a breezeway, and everybody'd freeze their tail end off trying to go from one school to the other, one classroom to the other. I remember when the old school was torn down, and they built a new library.
Yeah,
everybody thought that was really cool.
It was.
So and then practicing in that old gym up there, the girls' gym. We had John Huckleberry was our coach, and he'd run our tail ends off up there.
Yeah. I enjoyed playing for John. In my freshman year, I was on the varsity, but I got on the varsity at the very end. So while freshman ball was playing, I got to play for Johnny. And Johnny's offense was pretty well just me taking it down the floor and shooting, So that was my most fun time playing basketball, because I never had a coach just going, whatever you want to shoot at, you can shoot it.
Well, if you were pretty well open on the inside of the half line, they didn't have 3-point lines back then.
I'd let it fly. I remember that. I'll never forget that. The big game, the game against Metropolis, and I remember I shot. It was over there almost by the eye, and I was wide open, and I shot one. I heard Wilson goes, "What?" And then I hit it, and he just shuts up.
Oh, I forgot to ask Mark about. We'll talk about it here a little bit, but I forgot to ask Mark about the Brookport game, where he did the behind the back pass, and he was honored enough to have his own timeout called.
Yeah, man, I tell you what, most people, I mean, it's been long enough ago, most people don't really know Jim Wilson, but he was a little guy, he wasn't a big guy at all, but man, when he get mad, his head would get just be red, and he'd be jumping up and down. He would never say a bad word. And he didn't believe in any of that stuff. He didn't believe you should do anything behind your back or pass behind your back. He just believed in old school basketball. And so he was so mad at Mark. That's the only time I saw a timeout he calls just to berate a player.
Well, he didn't like it. He was John Wooden style of basketball. You didn't dunk the basketball, you laid it up.
Right.
It was off the glass. And I don't remember who it was, but somebody tried to dunk the basketball, and they came out of the game the next whistle. And because they hit the back of the rim and it bounced way up in the air, and we didn't get the 2 points.
That had to be Tim Guthrie.
It might have been.
It had to be.
And I remember with Tim, nobody could have hair touch the nape of their neck.
Oh, right.
I mean, the shirt collar.
Yeah.
You had to have short hair back then. In the 70s, afros were big.
Well, he had a natural afro, so he could throw one. He still wouldn't hit the net back of his neck. That's true.
So Tim had this real curly hair, and he'd even perm it so it could get longer. And one time he come into school, it was after basketball season, and I mean he had a great big old fro, and I'm going, holy cow.
He did.
Those were funny times back then.
Well, it was definitely the 70s, and that was big hair days.
Bell bottoms and those elevated shoes that guys would wear.
Well, I remember that that last year we played baseball together. Me and you had to battle for who had to wear the biggest, because we were both the heaviest kids, And so Coach Cole, he made his way, and I remember this.
I
think I had 3 pounds. You had 3 pounds on me.
Well, and what was funny, I went down the day that we were supposed to weigh. I went into the broiler room where David Hill's office is now. They had those old broilers in there, and I spent all of 7th hour working my tail end off, sweating, and so I could win.
Yeah, because I had 3 pounds on you, and all of a sudden, I think you did a bunch of X-Lax too myself. I don't know.
I'd forgot about that.
Yeah, so I had to wear that big shirt. And you can see I did pretty good. I mean, 424. It wasn't bad.
Oh my gosh, I'd forgot all about that. What was your favorite class in high school?
Definitely it was Mike Sturt's economics. I always loved the business part of it, and I enjoyed Mrs. Bedwell or Mrs. Arnold then. I enjoyed those advanced math classes, even though I had a hard time studying. I hated Huck's classes. Oh my gosh! I love him as a basketball coach, but man, I did not like him as a teacher.
That geometry sucked.
It did. Me and you. I think me and you both flunked it.
And then I'm an accountant. We're both accountants.
We're both accountants. Yeah. Well, geometry and accounting doesn't have a whole lot to do with each other, other than pie graphs, I guess.
I never have understood the necessity of geometry.
Me either. Who cares about theorems? I still don't know about it. I still don't understand it.
You touched base on it. Who your favorite teacher was?
Well, I had a lot of favorite teachers. I mean, a lot of them took me. I mean, I was not a good student, but but they all had faith that I was a good student. I got an advanced math, and I shouldn't have been in advanced math, but Mrs. Bedwell felt like I needed to get ready for school. And then Mr. Sterner was fantastic to me, and I love Mr. Evans. He was a history buff, and I was a history buff, and so we'd argue about stupid stuff,
I liked Mrs. Arnold in algebra, and I came down here from Springfield, and my 7th and 8th grade year, my freshman year was an exact duplicate of my 7th and 8th grade year. As a matter of fact, in algebra, we had the same book in 8th grade that they had here.
I believe that.
And so we come in, and Miss Arnold, we had a semester, the first semester was in December, we had the semester exam, and back then you didn't get out of semester exams if you had an A. At the end of the year you could, but at the first semester you didn't. So I come in here, and I took it was an hour and 50 minutes allocated for the test, and I did it in about 45 or 50 minutes. Had a short sleeve shirt on. I took a Alfred Hitchcock short story book in with me, and I turned my test in, and she called me back about 5-10 minutes later, and she said, you got 104 because they had some bonus questions.
Yeah.
But I'm going to flunk you. I said, what?
Yeah.
And she says, you had to have cheated. I said,
you had to have the answers.
Exactly. And I said, I showed her my arms, and I had a short sleeve shirt on. I said, I don't have anything written on my hands, my arms, anything. I brought this book in with me, the Alfred Hitchcock. I flipped it open. I said, there's nothing in here. Who am I going to cheat from? Everybody else is still taking the test. And she never did look at my transcript, apparently, and saw that I had taken the same class the year before. I got an A in it in 8th grade. I got an easy A in it my freshman year. And after that, she let me pretty much get by with anything I wanted to, because she thought I was a genius. And all I did was I had the same book the year before.
You were just way ahead. That's funny. That's funny.
What was your fondest memory of Vienna High School?
What was my fondest memory? That's a good question. I guess finding my wife would be a fond memory, right? I mean,
you guys were sweethearts too.
Yeah, we were. We started dating. She was 15, I was 16, as the song goes. So it's. I guess that's my fondest memory of those.
So she's a cougar.
Yeah. No. I was.
Oh,
16.
you were 16.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was 2 months older.
Okay.
So,
So, her maiden name was Kim Shoemaker, and I assume she still likes horses.
Oh yeah, she's mainly passed that along to Kiston, our daughter. So Kiston's the one that takes care of most of the horses now. So, but they're crazy over them.
What is the funniest thing that you remember in high school?
Well, have we did the kid do a story?
Nobody's done that. That's mine.
That's yours.
Yeah, go ahead. Go talk about it.
Well, you're part of the perpetuation of this, right? Are you the one who came up with it?
No. Randy Newton.
Yeah, that's figured. Well, one, you don't ever dare Kenneth Dewar to do anything.
Exactly.
Right? Don't dare him to do anything. And so you guys, I mean, me and Mark were up watching the softball girls. We were out of trouble. Anyway, you guys are down here, and the high school cheerleaders out here practicing. And so that's back in the 70s where everybody was doing the streaking thing.
Mm-hmm.
We were streaking here and streaking there. Yeah, even what's his name had a song about the streak.
Ray Stevens.
Ray Stevens had this song about his streak. It's a funny song. And anyway, you guys bet him $1. Everybody bet he was going to pay him $1 to go out there and streak. And so Kenny said, yeah, I'll do that. So he stripped it down and went all the way around a full lap. Is that right?
Yep.
I mean, you were there. You probably know.
Yeah.
And the old cheerleading crew goes out that door, out that front door screaming. And
Leanne DiLeonardo screamed, and Kenny's just trucking down there just with a big smile on his face, nothing on but his tennis shoes.
Oh gosh! And the aftermath of that, of course, is Kincaid called you on. You were in the meeting, I wasn't, so you're going to have to tell the story from there on.
Well, so what set this up? It was after baseball practice.
Yep.
And back then, people took showers.
Yeah.
And so we're in there, and Randy's a senior, I'm a junior, and this happened in '75, and we come in, and we're going to drag Randy out there on the floor, and with no clothes on. He's taking a shower, so I'm in there lathered up, and I'm trying to get out of there as fast as I possibly can and get my clothes on while they're still messing with him. And Randy's saying, "Not me, I'm a senior. Get the junior." And so then they started to come after me, and I'm flopping around like a fish out of water because I'm all wet and I got lather all over me, and they can't hold on to me. So finally, I don't know who it was, but somebody finally said, "Well, we need somebody to go out there." And Kenny says, "Well, I'll do it." He says, "But you're going to have to pay me to do it." And so everybody started ponying up money. He wound up getting like $40 for that. And the next day, we come into school, and Mr. Kincaid, he's very serious. And, we always had the Pledge of Allegiance and the national anthem and everything at the beginning of the day. And he comes on, he says, "Want everybody's attention, please. I need the following people to come to my office." And he starts naming the baseball team. And we thought we were going to be kicked out of school, seriously. And he gets us all back in there, and he just rakes us over the coals one way up and down. And he wanted to know, did everybody pay him? Because if he's going to do that, and Kenny didn't get kicked out of school, and we didn't get kicked out of school, but later I found out, many years later, I wound up doing Mr. Kincaid's, and I always called him Mr. Kincaid. It's just impossible for me to say Lawrence.
Yeah.
And he got mad at me. I was doing his taxes. And so this was many, many years later. And we were talking about that. And he said that was one of the funniest things he'd ever seen, but he had to act like he was mad.
Yeah.
And but he wanted to make sure that Kenny got all of his money that he was supposed to.
That was hilarious. It was. I mean, Kenny was. He was just something else. I just get him. He was fearless.
He would run through a brick wall.
He would. He really would.
Now, and Mr. Kincaid, later we were talking, and he told me, he said that there was lots of things that we all did different that he thought was absolutely hilarious, but he had to act like he was mad. I remember one time we went down into the student. I don't know if you were there that day, but we were down underneath the stage in the upper gym in the student lounge for seniors, and we're down there playing poker. And you're not supposed to be gambling on the school property.
Yeah. And
so he come up behind me, and I had a whole handful of nickels and dimes in my hand. And he come up behind me, and somebody's saying, Kincaid. He was behind me. I didn't see him. And so I just took my hand and shoved it down in my pocket when I finally figured out he was there. And he says, "What are you boys doing?" And, "Well, we're just playing cards. For money, right?" "Oh, no, Mr. Kincaid, nobody's playing for any money. No. And he knew exactly what was going on. He said, "All right, I better not catch you guys gambling, but carry on." And he turned around and walked out.
That's the only reason that I wanted to get in the Honor Society, so I could go down there and gamble. Anyway, that student lounge, almost anything went. I mean, it was pretty crazy.
Because there was multiple rooms.
Yeah.
And the girls would go in one room, and the guys would stay in the first one. But that was a lot of fun back then.
It was.
We talked about the funniest thing. Now, when you graduated, you went to University of Illinois.
I went to Shawnee for a year, and then Illinois. Yeah.
And then graduated with an accounting degree from U of I.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What brought you back to Southern Illinois?
Well, I had a couple jobs lined up in Northern Illinois, and Kim said, "I'm not going to live up there." so
family.
For three more months, I worked for my Uncle Ken out in the hay fields and the apple orchards, and then I got a job there at Granderson, and the rest is history. I've been here, 50 years. Oh no, what is it? 44 years since I got back from Illinois.
So when did you and Kim get married?
At 79.
79.
Yeah.
Okay. So we got married in 78.
Okay.
But
so you have a year on me then.
That's what was it like to have your kids come in and play here, and now I guess your grandkids are here too, huh?
Well, my grandkids are just 4 and 9, so they're a little ways from being in grade school. I mean, in high school. But yeah, it was great. It was great having the kids come through here too, And I think I think as far as a family setup, that's the way it is idyllic. But it's not for everybody. But I mean, my brother's just the opposite. He went to Illinois, and then he moved to St. Louis because while you work in St. Louis is a lot different than Marion, Illinois.
I lived up there for 9 years. We lived out in the county in Rock Hill, which is a part of Webster Grove School District, and we wanted to get our kids back in a more sane environment, so that's why we moved back to Southern Illinois. But the thing that I liked about living in St. Louis, we lived 10 minutes from Busch Stadium, and we lived 5 minutes from the Blues. Yeah. I fell in love with hockey up there, and but it was really cool to be able to watch the St. Louis, the Big Red football,
right?
Baseball, Cardinals, and back in those days, back in the 80s, you could go down there and get a ticket. They could scalp tickets all over the place. It's a lot different today.
It is.
I never was not able to go to any sporting event I ever wanted to go to up there.
I believe that.
But so with you and Kim, what's Kim do now?
We take care of grandkids for the most part. So
understand. Yeah. We got a 3-year-old.
Yeah. So,
but what did she do?
When we first got back, we had to make a living somehow. So, and accounting doesn't pay that much when you first start out, quite frankly. And so she helped her mom get the Dolly's place started down here in Vienna.
Really?
And so she did all the pies and the dumplings and all that stuff. And after that, after I get a little higher up in the accounting world, and she just took care of the kids and did all the housework and all that stuff. So she retired. No, you don't ever say retired. I mean, that's hard work. I don't want to do it.
That I couldn't. I know she was a heck of a cook.
Yeah, she is. Very much so.
Now, you worked for a company up in Carterville, too, for a while, didn't you?
Yeah, I worked at Arch Mineral for a long
Yeah.
time. And that was R&A Service Supply Company. I worked there for 10 years. And then me and my business partner, John Payne, we bought the rental business from them and started the rental business, Heartland Pump Rental and Sales. So we stayed in that for about 17 years and sold it to Xylem. So...
And you guys had some tremendous clients.
Oh, we did. Yeah, we did. It was a nice niche business. You know, you did a lot of power plant business, a lot of municipal business. You know, you dealt with a lot of big companies, and as Hathaway, the Berkshire guy, what he says is, you need to find a way that when you're sleeping, you're still making money. And
right.
That's the key. That when if you get ahead in life, you can make money while you're sleeping.
What's it like, Bud? That I know it's hard to believe for me that in 3 months, May 31st, 1976, the three of us, along with, there was 96 of us that graduated that night. I had the program.
Right.
For some reason, I had that, and it was in my yearbook.
Yeah.
So I was able to look through the 96 names. I'm going, holy cow. And how fast has that 50 years been?
It's been fast. It has been. I mean, I can't believe it's been 50 years ago. I mean, when I get to thinking, my mom and dad's gone, and then all these things have happened, and I realize, yeah, it's been 50 years ago. But, I'm not ready to be old, I'll tell you that. But yeah, time has something to say about that.
I was thinking the other day that, we're having 50 years. I'm 67. I won't be 68 until August. So I was only 17 when we graduated. And that just blows me away that I can barely remember some of the things.
Oh, yeah.
But I know one of the funniest things I had was our senior year. That was when bell bottoms and all that kind of stuff. So on a dare, I did this. And I went out and I had a canary yellow shirt that had the big collar that had it come to about here, and then it was open, and it had the great big collars on it, canary yellow. I had some purple pants and 2-inch high shoes that were blue, and I wore that to the prom, or not the prom, the homecoming.
Yeah, we didn't have prom. We didn't have prom.
We didn't get a senior trip. We got cheated.
Yeah.
We got Six Flags.
Let's go back.
We didn't get to go to Florida.
Yeah, I know.
But the class before us kind of messed us up on that. But that was, it's funny what I look back on some of the things that would I do something like that today? Probably not. But on a dare, it's amazing what you would do on a dare.
I know. I must have missed that. I don't like to clean that.
The good thing about it is we didn't have phones around that take pictures and document things.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness. That is true.
Some of the things that I did with Mike Faulkner and back in those days was hilarious. It's amazing we didn't get in trouble.
I know. He's a character.
Well, Neil, thanks for coming up and being with us. It's been fun. I thought this would be fun, and I was glad Mr. Stafford allowed us to come in and do this, walk down memory lane for 50 years.
Yep, sure is.
And, final thing I want to talk to you about. I just thought I'd kill myself if I didn't. You're one of the members that played on a regional championship 2 consecutive years. The only group of guys that have done that. And what was it like being you were a starter on the 75 team, you were a starter on the 76 team. What was it like being able to be back-to-back regional champions here at Vienna High School, and up till this, as we're speaking right now, the only time that's ever been done on the boys level?
Yeah, well, that's very special. That's something that we did do that nobody else has done. And then both of them were unexpected. I mean, we were playing the number 2 team in the state that first year, and one of the true best athletes I ever played against was Norman Goodman. I mean, he was the real deal. He played nose guard for Missouri, and he could have played in the NFL. I think he played in the Canadian for a while. And we beat that team, and he was incredible, and we beat him by 7, 8 points. And then the next year, I think we were like 4th. We were ranked 4th in the start of it. Mm-hmm. So we weren't expected to win that either.
Well, in '76, if I remember right, we beat Metropolis in the semifinals.
Yep.
On this floor. And then I think it was Pope County.
Yeah, and Pope County was a favorite.
Yeah, they were the 1 seed.
Yeah, they had some kid that was about 6'5", 6'6". He could catch and shoot. He was a pretty good player. I can't remember his name.
I don't either.
Yeah.
The only one I remember was when Danny Jarrett, he was 7-footer.
Oh, yeah.
Downplayed for Century.
Yeah.
And Coach Wilson would come in, and he would get a badminton racket, and we would hold that up there and put it on a stick and tape it up and use that as a defender to try to simulate playing against Danny Jarrett.
Yeah, Coach Wilson did that a lot. You know, he'd try to emulate whatever the next game's going to be. And I remember I got to be Mike Roundtree a couple times. And so Coach Wilson said, "Hey, when you get across that start shooting. If you get an open shot, you shoot." And so I liked being Mike Roundtree. That was fun.
Oh goodness! But that was really special. And then in the 75, on the 75 team that won the regional for the first time in 32 years, I asked Mark this question because, and I want to ask you this too. After the game was over with, we get beat in the sectional, and the bus was like a tomb, and we hit into Burnside, and there was, I don't know how many people there, but there was cars out. It would look like in Hoosiers.
Yeah.
the cars behind it. And you had the fire trucks leading it. The police cars were leading it, and they take us to the square. What was that like to be able to get off the bus and see the hundreds of people that had come to the square that evening?
That was very satisfying. You know, I was pretty disappointed after. I mean, we had a chance to beat Wayne State. We'd had to play a better game. We did, and Guthrie got hurt in the first quarter, so we were 1 man down, and we didn't play well. And so that was a nice to get that kind of appreciation in a losing effort. For sure it was, and
took the sting out of it a little bit.
Yeah, and used to this place would be packed every game, almost every game. But if it was a big game, you couldn't hardly get in. I mean, that Metropolis game that year, I think they say they turned people away. I don't know if they did or not.
They actually did. My grandfather was a bus driver here.
Yeah, I remember.
And he was telling me that there were actually, because he knew the sheriff back then. I can't think of who it was, but they turned away hundreds of people that wanted to just come in. And I know that day we were at school, but they really didn't have school that day. It was, and I'll never forget, their coach had said that he was more worried about getting sectional tickets than he was Vienna. And Jim Wilson, they gone out and they must have bought every paper in the place, because that article was plastered all over this school and every one of your guys' lockers.
Yeah.
So, but that was a fun atmosphere.
Wilson was a good coach. He prepared you before the game, and if you weren't prepared, it was your own fault. It wasn't his fault, that's for sure. He was a studier and a doer. There's no doubt about that.
He was, and meticulously organized.
Oh, yeah, he was almost to a like I don't know if I can play for you or not.
I look back I was looking at the yearbook getting ready for tonight's this evening, And I was amazed. You look at the uniforms today, and we had those little bitty skin tight uniforms on. And he would tell everybody, if you get inside position, but if you get on the outside, just reach back there, and they could jump really good. Just grab a hold of their shorts.
Well, the shorts are one thing, but you got those big old socks too that come all the way up to your.
Oh yeah.
Oh gosh.
And that was back in the baseball days. You had those high stockings, and you'd have your pants just below your knees to help the umpire know where the strike zone was.
That's right. Oh gosh, I tell you.
Well, Bud, thanks for
fun.
coming up and talking. I've really appreciated the time.
Yep. Well, good luck to you.
Thank you.
Yep. You take care. See you again soon.
Tell Kim
I used to run
hi.
into you a lot back when I was in Williams County a lot, but haven't seen you in a while.
I got signs all over the place.
Oh, I know. You're running again. I guess you just like the torture.
Well, they've raised our real estate taxes 47% in 4 years. And
well, they have here too. I mean,
yeah, but I'm going to do something about it.
Well, if you can do that, then I'm going to vote for you whatever you do. Okay, I appreciate it.
Thanks, Neil.
See you.
That's Neil Martin. And last but not least, I'm going to turn that off there real quick. We're going to have David Jelzovic make his way up here. So we've got our last interviewee here from 1976, David Jelzovic. And David was in the Ecology Club for 3 years, Industrial Arts for 3 years, Youth for Christ for 2 years, Pep Club for 2 years, basketball manager for a year, intramural championship senior year, intramurals all-star for his senior year, who's who among American high school students. And I was on the same team with you. Dale Poole was our captain.
Oh man, we had a blast. I'll never forget those days, man.
We had Charles. Back then he was Philip Redwine.
Yeah.
Now he goes by Charles.
Yeah.
And Charles.
He's
Phillip
a doctor
Redwine.
now, so
Not a doctor.
No,
doctor in school.
yeah, he's a doctor of psychology.
That's crazy.
Yeah, doesn't that just fit him?
It would, actually.
Yeah.
We had Ken Horney, Jerry Botarf, yourself, David Farmer, Dale Poole, he was the captain, and myself.
Yeah.
And we had a chance to play Cool in the Gang for that championship.
For the championship, I remember that.
And then I saw Kelly Harper here was tonight, and I want to say hi to Kelly. I'm sure he's listening here somewhere, but I'd forgot about this. So I knew that by winning the championship, we got to play the teachers.
Yeah.
Originally, we were going to play the varsity.
Yeah, they backed out. They didn't want to play us.
Well, I don't think Mr. Wilson wanted to take a chance of us winning.
He said he had nothing to win. You know?
He's right. Yeah.
We had a pretty good team. I'll tell you that. We'd have played with them. I think
we could actually. We had some shooters.
Yeah.
You were averaging about 30-something points a game.
Yeah. Yeah.
We were all a lot thinner back then.
Oh yeah, I'm telling you what, man. Things happen. Some things get bigger, and some things get smaller. Talking about our hair, of course.
Yes. You still got a lot.
Yeah. I'm blessed with.
So, what are your thoughts? How has this school changed in the 50 years we've been out of school? So, first off, can you believe it was in 3 months? It'll be 50 years since we walked down this floor, got our diploma.
I really can't believe that, but I don't know. I think it's upscaled. I mean, we had I thought we were the best school around when we was in school. It was just something a little bit special to go to Vienna. Of all the little schools around, Vienna was they had the best gym, and I mean, just kind of a swagger, going to Vienna, but the education-wise, it's just amazing how the colleges have come in and kids can get college courses, so they don't have to pay for all that when they get out. They can have a college degree when they graduate. It's just amazing.
It's one of the things. The superintendent, Josh Stafford, is great. I love working with him. He's done a great job, and his emphasis on education is second to none.
Yeah,
literally
that's awesome.
To me, it's just amazing. You touched base on it. I'm amazed at the number of kids that will graduate here in May that 2 weeks before they graduate and get their diploma in high school, they're going to have their associate's degree
I know.
from
Isn't that
Shawnee
unbelievable?
College.
Isn't that unbelievable?
I wish
we didn't have
had that opportunity.
Yeah. And I wish I would have took advantage of it if we would have had it. But, oh, yeah, man, that would have been awesome. But I don't know, Vienna to me is just far above everybody else. It always has been to me. And I think they still lead the way. I think, if you watch TV, you'll see the little clips about, things happening. It seems like it's always Vienna High School that's taking the lead on so many things.
Well, and in all seriousness, you'd have to go to schools like Marion, Carbondale, some bigger schools.
Oh, yeah,
to be
yeah.
able to come in and have the club associations and the
Yeah.
opportunities that you have with extra things going
Oh, yeah,
on
yeah.
at this school. And the vision that the school board has, I know you talk about a thankless position.
Oh, yeah.
I've been in politics, but there's no way I'd want to be on a school board.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
But they've done such a great job with here. And I know in the gym, we used to have those bug lights, I called them. And now they've got these beautiful LED lights.
Oh, I know,
It's
man.
bright.
I remember the speakers hanging up there. I remember, it was just but it still was a beautiful gym. Even when we went here, it was compared to the other schools, I think we just stood out. Vienna was still a nice gym.
I wish I'd have thought about this whenever I had Mark Bean and Neil Martin and those guys here. We used to have, the opportunity that we have here. We're broadcasting the games, and they're on ESPN or like ESPN, have the Eagles Nest here.
I know.
Being able to come back here and do the play-by-play has been absolutely phenomenal.
Oh,
and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I've absolutely loved the opportunity to come in here and do this.
Oh, I'll tell you what, we have a fan club, man, and there's several of us, and you know about it too. I mean, it's the Ron Ellis fan club. But it's so big a part of watching Vienna ball is now we can get on YouTube and we can watch the game and we can hear you, and it's just awesome, to think about that. We wouldn't even have dreamed that back when we was in high school that we could actually watch on TV, But
well, even hear our games. This is what I was going to talk to them about. I remember Stud Walker. And he'd have that reel-to-reel, and he'd climb up there and have a little desk, and he'd sit right there where it says "Excellent becomes tradition."
Yeah,
he'd have a little desk right there.
Yeah,
and he'd put a reel-to-reel, and he'd do the game, and then he'd take it down to WMOK.
Yeah,
and it'd be a Friday night, and it was only happened once or twice a year.
Oh yeah, it was
and
big games. It had to be a regional championship, something big.
And we'd listen to it. It'd be 10 o'clock Saturday morning. And I'd get my little AM radio and listen to WMOK.
Oh, man.
But the opportunity that we have here to do both the boys and the girls, and there was never any thought of doing girls games back then.
Yeah, I know.
They just had started.
Isn't that weird to even think about, that girls' athletics were just coming in the scene, like when we played.
And Vienna's been blessed. We've had some very, very, very good basketball and softball teams come through Vienna High School.
They have excellent teams, and it's what makes fun to watch it, especially the last few years. They have been so awesome. I hated to see the girls lose the other night.
You and me both.
They were better than that. They should have got back past Massac.
The funny thing is, had we won that game, that would have been our third consecutive regional championship for the girls. And all 3 years, we would have played Nashville in the first game of the sectional. Now, what are the odds of that one?
And that's no fun either.
And last year, we were the closest that played Nashville.
Yeah.
And in the sectional game that we had with them, and they would go on. They win the state. 2 years ago, they came second. Last year, they came in first, and the team that they lost to, they just blew off the floor.
I know.
And last year.
Yeah.
And they're that good again this year.
I know. They'll probably win it all again. Wouldn't be a bit surprised. But
Dave, when you were in school, what was your favorite class?
You know what? We talked a little bit about this. I loved Mr. Arrington. me and him got along great.
I hated biology.
I know you wasn't a biology fan, but I just liked him. And I was in that club, I think it was where we designed the flower bed out in front of the school, and I got to do that. And I mean, me and him just got along. I don't know. He was just, I loved biology, and I can still remember today a lot of the things I learned in biology. It's just something that clicked with me. I loved it.
That's why you're in the ecology club then, huh?
Yeah, that's it, man.
I'll be done. And I'm sure Mr. Arrington was your favorite teacher?
Yeah, he really was, I think. I had a lot of teachers I liked. We took, with Neil, we took Bachelor of Living. Did you take that?
Yes.
Did you really?
Yes.
You might have been in the same class. You remember we was cooking pies, and everybody's pie got done except Neil's, Martin's, and trying to think, maybe Tim Guthrie, but they were teamed up. And we was going to get to eat our pies as soon as they got done, and they was the slowest one, and they was waiting. Finally, the buzzer went off, and Neil opened the thing and grabbed that pie. Do you remember that?
I don't.
He grabbed the pie. Of course, then it hit him that he didn't have no potholes or that on, so he dropped it, and he busted
all over the floor, yes.
And so none of us got to eat pie after that, man.
Well,
I loved her, too.
I remember having to make a chef's hat and a apron that you would put over your.
Oh yeah. Taught us to cook a little bit. That was a lot of fun. We had a lot. That was, I think, one of the first years I had that.
Was that Mrs. Hodges?
Yeah, Mrs. Hodges, man. I ended up being one of her assistants too. In class. In my senior year, I was assistant to Mr. Kincaid.
Really?
Yeah, he pulled me aside and he said he wanted to know if I'd be his assistant, and had a lot of things that he had to have done. And yeah, I was his assistant. Got real close with him. He was one of my mentors, man. He was such a smart man, I thought, and he taught me many lessons, I'll tell you.
Well, that was back in a time where corporal punishment was still available.
Yes, it was. I remember hearing the echo of the pops when kids got whipped in the hall.
Mr. Stewart was big on the Board of Education.
Yes, right. Mr. Cole, remember that? Mr. Cole would have that paddle with them holes in it and bring them out there. Oh, my goodness, man. Kids that own a school today, if that happened. But
there'd be lawsuits involved.
Yeah, there would be. But I loved Mr. Kincaid, man. Me and him just got along. He gave me a plaque at the last day of school for helping him, being his assistant and stuff. And we didn't. I just thought the world. He taught me lessons. I remember one time when I was a sophomore, I had a girlfriend, and we got into trouble. It was some kind of a deal. They was going to have a skating party, and so me and Jerry Botarf, I was always getting him in trouble, or he was me one. But we went down to the skating party, and we talked the girl into riding back with us. Of course, she shouldn't have done that. She went down on the bus, and then we ran out of gas.
Oh,
on the way home. Yes, of all times. Well, when we got to the school, finally, a semi driver gave us a ride, if you can imagine that. So we pull up to the front of the school in a semi, me and Cherry and Vicki Jackson was her name, and we all climbed out, and there's Mr. Kincaid and my mom and her mom. And he said, meet me in my office in the morning, and I knew I was in, big trouble. But he said, here's what I want to do. He said, for your punishment, you cannot be seen with that girl for 3 weeks. He says you can't be seen in the hall with her. You can't be seen talking to her. Anywhere on this campus, you can't be seen with her. And he goes, and I don't want you to call her at night. He goes, I can't make you not do that, but I'm going to ask you not to even phone her at night when you go home. I want you just 3 weeks. 3 weeks time, she had done found another boyfriend, and he taught me the best thing I ever could do was get away from her. He was trying to tell me, man. And look, I mean, he was just that kind of guy, and that was my only punishment, and that was the best thing. I've got my wife now, 42 years we've been married. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing tonight, all the people that I've talked to that have been married well in their 40s.
Yeah, Neil, how long? Neil's been a long time.
Yeah, 46 years.
Yeah, I can't believe it, man.
So, what is your fondest memory of Vienna High School?
Fondest memory. Well, I tell you one kind of a funny story. Are funny stories allowed?
Yeah.
When I was in 8th grade, getting ready to go to Vienna High School, we had that day we all went to check the school out. Remember that one day we all got to come, and to me it was like going to a college. I come from Simpson. We had 6 people in our class, and Vienna was like going to be huge. And we just had a track meet, and I had won, I don't remember, 6 or 7 ribbons in the track meet, and I had them, and me and Monty Curley, do you know Monty? Mm-hmm. Me and Monty Curley, we was sitting out at recess one day at Simpson, and we was looking at school bus. Monty says, "You know what? I think I can pee over that school bus." And I said, "No." I said, "I can, but you can't." So we were just joking back and forth to each other. So we made a trophy, and we made a date. And it was like sundown, man. Lunchtime, nobody else came out. Me and him went over to the bus and did our deal. I won. Neither one of us. It was a windy day, so nobody really won. Okay, but it was we never laughed so hard. And I tell you what, that little trophy I won for that going over that school bus, that was bigger to me than them 6 ribbons I just won at the track meet, man.
Remember when they closed the school at Simpson, and they consolidated with
New
Simpson Hill.
Mm-hmm.
But they still had, the school was still open. You could still go in and play in the gym and do things. And I don't know if you went to this or not. I don't remember if you did or not. But they had, we had a Halloween. We had a senior or a sophomore. We were sophomores. Mm-hmm. And they had a Halloween party there that night.
Oh, wow.
And I dressed up, and I had some people help me. And on a whim, I dressed up as a girl.
Oh, no, man.
And they had to put the makeup on me and everything. I don't know how girls do that, but all that eyelash crap.
Yeah.
But so I dressed up as a girl, and I went in and came in late. I didn't go in with anybody that knew me, or with the group that we were with. We all sort of scattered in.
Yeah.
And Mike Faulkner was involved. Terry Faulkner was involved. Debbie Faulkner, who was Ernie's daughter.
Oh yeah,
she was the one who helped me
all of them,
get all the garb on.
Yeah,
and so we go in there, and it was hilarious walking around, listening to people. Where's Ellis? Where's Ellis isn't here. Where's he at? And Terry and Mike. Well, I don't know. He's supposed to be here.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, we all unveiled everything, and then I revealed who I was.
Yeah,
but. My mom was not real happy with that.
Oh man, I wouldn't trade all the memories though for nothing. That back in high school, from the beginning to the end, man. One of the funniest things I ever heard was graduation. You telling me that Marla.
Oh,
you walked in with Marla. She asked you not to come in drunk.
Yeah,
of all the people,
and I don't know where that came from.
I don't either.
Marla Emery was about 4'8", maybe.
I know.
Super, just white blonde hair.
Yeah,
cute as a button and smart as a whip.
Yeah,
and she come in there, and the day before, we're finishing up graduation. We're doing the practice coming down, and she comes in and she says, I know there's a rumor out there. I said, about what? And she said, about everybody coming in drunk. And she said, if you come in here drunk, I'm gonna kill you. And I said, where's that coming from? Yeah. She said, well, I'm just telling you, there's a rumor out there.
Yeah.
And I don't want that to happen. I said, okay, I promise I won't. I'd have to deal with my grandfather on that one.
That was too funny. One thing we all knew. In our ball team, when we'd go in the shower and you'd come in, we knew that you had a big set of morals. You was a great guy. I mean, you was a great guy. Well, and of all people in this whole school, it would never be you that would do something like that. And you were just a great guy. We had so much fun.
Every time if I ever did something that I got in trouble with, somebody would tell my grandfather. He would somehow he would find out.
He had an inside.
He never would tell me a source, but there's some funny things that happened that I won't talk about now.
Yeah. One thing I thought was amazing in high school. Me and my sister, we had the same bus driver, of course, Mr. Cheek. I don't know if you remember
Jim
him.
Cheek. Yes.
And my mom and her sister and her brother all had Mr. Cheek as a bus driver. It's a Simpson. He drove the Simpson route when my mom went to high school. I mean, that to me, that just amazing.
What year did your mom graduate?
Now you're asked. Oh, I do not remember.
My mom graduated in '56. So I bet they're
probably
right in there.
Probably right in there, but he was her, and he was her sister Charlotte's. They were all rode Mr. Cheek's bus, and then my uncle Jim Bradley, he rode Mr. Cheek's bus. I mean, it's just, that guy had been around for a while, but he was a great guy too, man.
One of the funniest things I remember, and it just popped in my head, was our senior year. We went to First Baptist Church, and we had a great youth group. Mm-hmm. But on Halloween, our senior year, there was the doggonedest egg fight through the Vienna streets I've ever seen. And you had the old IGA Country Time in the valley here. Yep. They had the grocery store there.
Yep.
And you couldn't find an egg to be found in anywhere in Vienna, because we scarfed all them things up, and we're going around egging everybody, running through the streets.
We got a big supply. Jerry Hawkins and me went. I don't know where he ended up getting them, but we had like 6 dozen eggs. We went up because they had a big dance going on at that Southern Garden Shopping Center. So we went up and parked at the grade school. Because, right down from the grade school, you could see that parking lot. We sat there and launched egg after egg after egg. And, I don't know if we ever did hit anybody, but that's just one of them things. Old Jerry Hawkins was a smart guy.
He's the smartest individual I've ever seen.
He was a smart guy, man, I'll tell you what.
He went to work back in the computer age, and he wrote programs for, I'm not sure which, I'm pretty sure he worked for IBM for a while.
Oh, wow.
But he was, me, Jerry Hawkins, and Mike Harris are on a fantasy baseball team to this day.
Oh, wow.
And we had
awesome.
Gary Bush was in there for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a year younger than us.
Yeah.
But it was, I still stay in contact with those guys through this fantasy baseball league.
Yeah, that's neat. I still have contact with a lot of people. That's, I guess, why you come back, to your hometown, family.
One of the reasons
you're connected with family and the kids you grew up with and playing ball with, and it's just.
So after high school, what did you do?
Well, I went to college. I went to Shawnee and took classes at Shawnee, and then I went to Southeastern and took classes. Then I transferred to Southern Illinois University. I took classes, and then I ended up going to IET, Institute of Electronic Technology, and graduated from there and went into electronics, and I did a little bit of everything in electronics. I ran a master control TV station, and from that, I ended up getting an opportunity to work for Homeland Security, and I did that for a while. It was a great job. It didn't have a boss. I worked out of New York, and so I never seen my boss. I had a government vehicle. I took care of Illinois, a big part of Missouri, a big part of Kansas, and then up past St. Joseph, Missouri, into Nebraska. That was my territory right there. And I would be gone sometimes, but at that time my wife was an accountant, and she had working 2 offices, and she was never home, so it worked out fine. I'd be gone 3 weeks at a time. But then when I got home, I might be home for 3 weeks, and I'd get paid just the same, so it was a good job. But she had her accident, and then we changed our plans, but everything's done great. It's like I wouldn't go back and do anything any different. But
how long you guys been married now?
42.
42 years.
42 years, man.
That's
It's
right.
hard to believe.
We talked about that just a
it's
little bit ago.
unbelievable.
My memory's not what it used to be.
Yeah, oh, me either, buddy. I'll tell you that.
So that's one of the things. So what was it that brought you back to the Vienna area?
Well, I still had parents living, and I went to Houston for a while and worked down in Houston for a while, but it's just you feel in your heart the need to take care of your family. My mom and dad needed help, and so we decided to come back here, and it was tough, first to find a job because I left a great job, and I've had health issues through the years, some too, but it's all worked out for the better. I ended up at the TV station, and I was there for quite a while. And like I say, I ran Master Control, and
Which TV station?
TCT.
Okay.
Had 17. I ran 17 stations all across the country. Everything was ran.
Corporate headquarters just north of Marion.
Yeah, I think they moved down.
They did. They moved it to Ohio.
Yeah, that's where he started.
When I can't think of his name that owned that started that. They have a satellite, and they when he passed away,
yeah.
where I live in southern Williamson County, and they had a spread just literally right across Route 37 on the east side of 37. I live on the west side of 37, where the chapel is.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And they're trying to sell that now for $1 million.
Oh wow, it's a beautiful place. I mean, they really
the chapel's
fixed it
awesome.
up. Oh, it is.
But that's where they started everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I worked there quite a while. I worked Master Control. I started out working midnights, worked my way to the day shift, and I did all the live programming. I did the audio on the live programming. And
I remember when all that facility, that building, all that used to be WGGH.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That changed, didn't it?
Or no, it's W3D.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
3D.
Dutch Daily chatted.
Yeah.
WGGH was on the east side of town.
Yeah.
But
so you do what is your connection with the radio station at Anna there?
I co-own it.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
50% owner.
Yeah, I thought so.
So it makes it real easy for me to. I know one of the bosses.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And you can sit him down and talk to him too. Yeah, that's a good deal, man.
So every now and then, but we've been very blessed that with Josh and David Hill and Tori Burt doing all the stuff that she does here.
Yeah.
To have the opportunity to do this is been a dream come true, because I would have never in my wildest imagination ever thought I'd be able to do this. I've been doing sports since I've been broadcasting since 1997.
I know, it's unbelievable.
And
how many games you've done?
We've done over. I sat down and was thinking about it, and I've done just under 4,500 games.
Oh my goodness!
And I've had the opportunity to broadcast when Cobden, when they went to 4 classes in softball and baseball.
Yeah.
3 years in a row, Cobden won the state championship.
I know.
And we broadcast all those games.
Oh, wow.
I broadcast Goreville before the advent of COVID and everything. Yeah. I was able to do Goreville's games when they went to baseball up to Peoria and won a state championship, and they finished in 3rd place one year. I've done all the play-by-play for Marion football and basketball, and I stayed doing that until as long as Kerry Martin was there for football. Yeah. I quit doing basketball there probably about 10 years ago because I just got tired of all the travel.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how you do it, man. Even this winter, it's just like turn it on, you'd be here, and the next day you'd be here, and and then they would say you're on your way here, and then you hadn't got there yet, but you'll be here in a little bit.
The one funny thing is my wife doesn't have to worry about what I'm doing.
No, that's for
very
sure.
Easy to find out.
Yeah.
But
we're actively trying to get you inducted into the Broadcasters Hall of Fame, the Sports Broadcasters Hall of Fame. I'm working, and I met with the superintendent here and the athletic director here, and they're going to help on this end, and we're going to get it done, buddy. You deserve it. If anybody deserves it, they're not going to come up with a resume any better than yours. What all that you have done.
I had a chance when this was back in the early '80s, and I always had a dream of being a sports broadcaster.
Oh yeah.
And I had a chance on the Cardinal Caravan, and Jack Buck and Keith Hernandez. This would have been in 83, 84, somewhere in there, after they'd won the World Series in 82.
Yep.
And so I had a chance to go back into the cafeteria at the old Marion kitchen, and I got to talk to Jack Buck for about 30 minutes one-on-one.
That's just amazing.
And my son was there, and Keith Hernandez was in there. And I didn't know Keith smoked like a fiend.
What?
And he was just chain smoking. And so, but I had a chance to talk to Jack Buck, and we talked about the early baseball. And I told him what my dream was. And he said, I said, what's the one thing you could give me the best advice for? Because I never went to college to be a broadcaster. It's just I enjoy doing it.
Yep.
And he said that you are the eyes and the ears of the people who is listening to you. And he said, if you can make them feel like they're at the game, then you've done the game well.
And you do that, buddy, I'm telling you what.
And sometimes I have trouble. My eyes aren't as good as they used to be.
Oh, nobody this age, I tell you what. I know what you mean.
And I had a macular hole in my left eye once, and my vision in my left eye is only 20/70.
Ooh.
And then I've had some difficulties with my good eye this last year because of a wreck that I was in.
Oh, no.
And so this season has been a little more difficult than normal, but I still love doing it. I've loved the opportunity, and that's why I sign off at the end of the broadcast. Thanks for your time this time until next time, because that's exactly what Jack Buck said.
That's right, buddy. I've heard him say that. I couldn't tell you how many times that radio on my ear, listening to them ball games, you know.
I was back when Harry Carey and Jack Buck were the broadcasters.
Oh, wow.
I was a little kid, and I lost a lot of 9-volt batteries in my transistor radio because I'd put it under my pillow so my mom wouldn't know, and I'd go to sleep. And then I'd wake up the next morning and the battery would be dead.
What a duo they were, man. I'll tell you what.
Those were fun times.
I've heard some many tales on them. I'll tell you what.
Most of them probably true.
Yeah, I know.
But, the kids it's later than I ever dreamed it would be.
But it's been an enjoyment, man. I tell you what. Come here and represent our class. We had a great class. We had great people in our class, and have done great things. And
well, in all seriousness, I wouldn't trade the 4 years that I had here for anything.
No. And we went through a lot. That's construction. They was everywhere. But, we didn't even think about that, putting a new library and tearing the old study hall and all that down and stuff, which it was
I want to tell one final funny story, and this is the funniest. This is hilarious. So when Lou Parker came here, he was working. He was one of the assistants in the shop class, in the shop industrial arts department, and so he was an assistant baseball coach. So it was our senior year, and I don't know what all went into this, but he had this little bitty car, and we went and got big watermelon. It was about this big, and we cut it in half, cleaned all the guts out of it, and lifted the back end of his car up because it was front wheel drive.
Yeah.
So we picked the car up, put the back tires underneath this watermelon rind, and on both sides.
Oh, wow.
So he gets in after practice, and he's going to leave. He parked over here. Where the cafeteria is now.
Yeah.
That was a parking lot at that time. And he gets in his car, starts it up, puts it in reverse, it goes we are laying on the ground laughing. And I'm on the Regional Office of Education board for Franklin, Williamson, Johnson, and Massac counties now. And he's on the board also.
Oh, wow.
So
does he remember you doing that?
Yeah, he did.
I bet he did.
he always wondered who did it.
Yeah.
But we were just laying on the ground laughing. There was about 8 of us that were involved in this.
Yeah.
And because he was fun. He was a fun target.
Yeah.
But
he lived for all these years up next to my mom and dad.
Did he?
At Simpson. He's got a place right up there next to my mom and dad.
Yeah.
But he's a great guy.
Then he became what, principal at one time, or superintendent?
Yeah, he was principal, and I don't know if he ever became superintendent, but I know he was principal. My sister-in-law Gloria worked in the office then. She transferred. She worked in the library forever, and then she transferred to worked for him.
After we did some of the practical jokes we did to him, that's the funniest one.
Yeah.
But it's a wonder he stuck it out here.
Yeah. He's a good guy. I always loved him too.
He's really smart.
Oh yeah. Well, he taught computer here for a while, because I remember my nephew. He took computer classes from him, and he was just a real smart guy when he came here. He's just a good guy.
I have trouble figuring this stupid phone out.
Yeah,
and I'm glad they weren't around when we were kids.
Yeah, I've learned just what I've had to. When I worked Homeland Security, I had to learn a lot on the computer, because the transmitters that I maintained talk to you by a computer. They would tell you, hey, Bellflower, Missouri, one transmitter's down, and then they would tell you what's wrong. They would say, this is what's wrong, this is what's wrong. And then a lot of times I could get on my computer and fix it without ever having to drive, down there. I could get on there and fix it, or worst come to worst, I'd have to drive there, but still I know what was wrong when I got there. It's just the day of computers. But yeah, I just want to say one more thing about our intramural team, man, because that was such a great time. I had more fun playing basketball with you and Dale Poole, and I love Dale Poole and Jerry Botarf. We was a heck of a team. Now,
well, the funny thing about that System 7 was when we were freshmen, we all played basketball.
Yeah.
And for one reason or another, we went a different way.
Yeah. We were all stars in grade school, but then we come here. My mom and dad didn't really like me playing, so I wanted to, but it didn't matter. It worked out better. I think I had more fun, with the intramural. We just had a blast. I loved every one of them guys.
Kelly reminded me that Kelly Harper, that he was one of the referees when we played the teachers.
Oh, I didn't remember that.
I didn't either.
I did not remember that.
And but I do remember playing them.
Oh, I do too, in front of the whole school.
And we beat them.
Yeah, in front of the whole school.
Yeah. So we got to play. It was, I don't remember when it was, but that was fun. And
it was the whole school. We played right here in this gym, and the whole school was here. They let the school out to come and watch.
And Jerry Hawkins was on the David Carlton and Doug Carlton was on that.
That's the team we beat for the championship. Yeah.
Cool in the gang.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun.
And then we played that little freshman team that we scored so many points on. I remember their name. Was it the Orphans or something like that? With that freshman team, we had so much fun that I remember Dale said, "Let's just see how many points we can score." We had so much fun. Because you done a pretty good job. You had 29 points in that game, because the teacher, Mr. Evans, gave me that score sheet, and he said, here, because it's never going to happen again. He says, you take this and you keep this, because we was playing 15-minute quarters, like the NBA.
And it was a continuous clock.
Yeah, but he says, that's the last game we're ever playing with 15-minute quarters. We're going to switch it and, make it more realistic, because that game lasted 2 hours and 45 minutes or something, and it's supposed to have been another game behind ours, but there wasn't no time, we took up all that time. But we just had so much fun. I miss all them guys, and I got to see Philip quite a bit. Remember, we all got together with Philip at that time, went out and ate, and he's a great guy. And Jerry and Dale. I hadn't got to see Dale. I would love to see Dale.
I saw him he lives on 146.
That's what me and Neil was talking about down here, that he lives. Neil's
just east of town.
Any kids. Does he have kids?
I don't know.
I don't either. I'd love to get together with Dale, man. He's just a good guy too, great guy.
But he lives just east of where the Gambit is, the RV park now.
Oh, okay. I knew that you said he lived out there, so there was some pools in Pope County School, but that would still be Johnson.
Yeah, he retired his dad was a state police.
Yeah, I remember.
And then he became a state police officer also, and he retired from that.
Yeah, he was just a great guy. I just thought the world of him.
Well,
him
Dave,
Jerry.
Thanks for coming up.
Hey, I appreciate.
I really appreciated you
me.
coming up, and it's just mind-boggling that 50 years ago.
Oh my goodness, man!
And
go down memory lane.
That's why trip down memory lane of Vienna High School 50 years ago.
And friendships are just as real today as they was back then.
It's amazing. I hope we get to have a class reunion, and we haven't really had very many of these this year.
No,
during the basketball season, but
Yeah.
it'd be cool. I've talked to Jerry Hawkins about it, and I think we're going to try to get one up here before long.
Oh, that would be awesome to get everybody together.
Barbara Vaughn was very instrumental in helping us get the last one, and that's been a long time ago.
Oh yeah, I remember. It's been a while, but
I haven't talked. I haven't talked to Barb in a long time.
yeah.
But well, thanks for coming
Hey,
up.
buddy, it's a pleasure. I'm honored to represent our class, man. I think you probably could have found somebody better, but I love it all the same. We was great.
Well,
We had a great class, man, and had lots of fun and lots of laughter and lots of memories.
it was a good time.
It was, buddy.
I wouldn't want to go back and do it again.
Not right now, but but it sure was great then, buddy.
Well, thank you for coming up and playing
Thank you.
along.
All right, man.
Leah Philpott, Grady Waters, and David Josevic. I want to thank all the people that were here tonight. Ross Hill for 1973. For 1974, we had Kenny George and Bobby Trover. 75, Tina Gully, Penrod now, and Mark Bean, and Neil Martin and David Josevic. I want to thank all of them, and I really want to thank the school and Josh for letting us do this tonight. It's been fantastic, and I wouldn't trade tonight for anything in the world.
Oh no, it's great, buddy.
I'm Ron Ellis. Thanks for sticking around and reminiscing with us. It's been a fantastic time, and I love the opportunity. Thanks to Josh Stafford and the school system, and David Hill and Tori Burt for allowing this to go on tonight. Thanks for your time this time. Until next time, so long, everybody.